egg has been planted.
Hi. Oh, over here. I'm by myself in the studio. Come closer. Come closer. This way. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Star Citizen Live. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee, and if you've never seen Star Citizen Live before, it's where we take about an hour to the end of our week and we chat with some of our developers. For the first time since we moved into our lovely only constant spaceship.
It's interesting to see like how to like I wonder if they're taking the video quality from the Twitch VOD, or are they recording separately, putting the OBS or whatever software they use to stream, or are they just separately recording it on a hard drive? Because when you look at inside Star Citizen, the same picture in the same studio will be super crisp. You would see like colors not being like distorted by the compression. You would see this purple reflect. You will see his beard like perfectly, you know. And now I'm looking at the ISC and it's like all blurred and just telling how shit the Twitch compression is, because this wonderful company does not allow, after all the years in 2023, to upload with a higher quality than 6 megabits per second, right? So I wonder if they're taking the VOD and not the separate recording.
Every single one of our guests are remote. They're calling from their homes, from their offices. Mike is probably in a back alley somewhere. We'll find out. Allow me to introduce you
He's gonna be remote.
Many, but not all, members of the CIG narrative team. Hi, people.
Oh, God.
Now you're on the screen. We've got Adam, and we've got Will, and we've got Matt, and we've got Mike, and we've got Dave, and we've got Jeremy.
Those two guys love black and white appearance, dramatic
clarify,
narrative.
We all could have been in the studio with you and chose not to.
You had the canoe ready, just...
They were like, we'll fly all of you out for this, no expenses spared, and we were like, no thank you.
Yes, because
we will fly all of you out. No javelins sold spared. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people have to fly out to UK just to give a interview, like a weekly interview that is nothing super special about what's it called, like lore and narrative stuff. Yeah, I know they didn't fly out, but what he said, we can fly you all out unless it's a joke, unless it's a complete joke. Okay, it's like I don't know, $6,000-$7,000, maybe $10,000 to you know, to pay for this flight. So yeah, I hope it was a joke. Okay, I really hope it was a joke about them. That CAG like kind of said they can fly out.
Talk about the predisposition of airplane tickets.
Yeah. Plus photos, like at least 10 grand.
It's one of those things. Here's a little insight.
10 grand is more than 3 javelins. Imagine someone buying a javelin, and instead of hoping that money goes to an actual development of a game, it just goes to fly the guys to give Jared an interview.
Baseball. It's really hard to get approval for an airline ticket. Sometimes there's a lot of things, but it's like, you know, if you're going to travel, like you need to detail many values and rules to do it.
Okay.
I don't think appearing on the show is quite enough, unfortunately. It's just me.
Whoa.
Appearing on the show is, you need to detail many values and rules to do it. I don't think appearing on the show is quite enough.
That was a joke, right? That's what he says. Like to spend companies' money to fly to like another studio, you have to have a really good reason, unless you're Chris Roberts. A really good reason, right? And appearing on a show is not one of them. That's what he says. So obviously it was a joke, but we have to rant. We have to talk about something and just have fun while the patch is not out, right?
It's just me. Especially when they know we can do that.
I mean, set decor. Listen, set decor. I've seen a lot of set decor done in my life, right? A lot. My father is a set designer. I even participated and helped him at some stages of my life and their life, and working together. Like I've seen and I've participated in multitude of TV studios being done. Right? Set decor, it depends on the materials, obviously, and all that stuff, but a lot of things are quote-unquote fake, and they cost quite cheap, like the forms to produce and all that. And it's like, it's a one-time investment that you can afford, right? And it will last for like probably some years, right? Because they're not going to change that set decor they did to Jared in a quarter, right? It's gonna last for like a few years at least, maybe more. So like that is not like crazy, you know. I don't know what's the cost of the entire room he's sitting in is. It's you mean the offices? I mean, their offices look decent, but nothing like extremely fancy. I think every big company right now and studio like tries to create the environment for their employees that they don't feel like sitting in a white box, you know, like they feel more comfortable, like increasing the loyalty of them to the company and their will to work, you know. Yeah, like if you would put all them in a warehouse, the like next month they will just like leave to another company. And that's like on top of that, like we have to understand, like game development industry is not really paying out too well, right? It's unfortunately, like everyone thinks IT like is yeah, I know you probably know. I'm just like generally talking about this. A lot of people like thinking IT stuff like usually pays out, but for whatever reason, like the game dev never followed that. And I mean, I tend to believe that the problem is in people in the first place, and the companies just abuse it. I think there is like this notion still going that, like, you know, game dev is created by nerds, and like everyone want to be a game designer because like, and that's like actually the reality, because like a lot of people grow up and, you know, they play games and man, I want to create games, you know. And I think the market, especially when we are talking like about not the upper echelon of employees, but like a lower echelon, like entry levels and mid levels, like juniors and like just, you know, just employees. Like, I want to do games, and there is such a huge crowd of I want to do gamers, then it's much easier to for a company to abuse it. And if you don't want to work for this money, we'll find someone else, right? I think that's one of the reasons. Like, too many people want to do games just by default, compared to other, you know, industries. Like, oh, you need to create this like whatever boring software that you will not use yourself, but you have to work on our IT company and just keep doing this because we're selling this to other companies, compared to you are going to create a crazy ass cool game. Of course, like a lot, especially those who grow up on games, they would go, I want to create a crazy ass good game, right? QAs are mistreated and underpaid, yet they're threat. Yeah, right. It's and that's how a lot of people enter the this industry through QA. Yeah, and I kind of think it's pretty sad to see like game dev still being in this kind of a state, and people are, compared to general like IT industry, a software development industry, like people in game dev are getting like legitimately underpaid. It's just sad, right? And it's like an endless loop, because every like new generation is born or whatever. Every year people are born, they started playing game, and they finish their like schools, like high schools, like universities, whatever, and they want to create games because they're so addicted in a good way to like gaming, right? And companies will abuse it. It's not that they even abuse it, it's just like the market, the supply of the man force to do the human force to do like games is like bigger, and probably the entry level is lower to what you have to know and to do, especially like QA, like the ad hoc testing. You just go and test stuff, and it's like, and it goes for like years and years and years. Like whenever someone talks to me from game dev, they always complain they're underpaid, because it's just not competitive to any other industry. I don't know. Well, yeah, let's move on. We deviated too much.
So yeah, that was a start. Let's meet some of the members of the narrative team now. Yes, if you've watched every video from Star Citizen's illustrious past over the last 10 years, or just my last 8 years, some of these folks you're going to know backwards and forwards and upsides and downsides and in the back alley of a 7-Eleven. But every show is somebody's first, so we're going to take the time to, I saw you raise your hand, Mike. Every show is somebody's first, so we're going to take the time to get to know some folks, introduce you, get to know who they are and what they do and how they work. So we are going to start, let's see, Mike, because you raised your hand earlier.
You unfortunately got the whammy.
Yeah. Who are you?
It's
And
a bummer.
what do you do for Star Citizen?
Well, I am the resident copywriter. I work on the
Resident
narrative
copywriter.
team, but I work a lot with marketing. I actually have to leave about halfway through this show. I'm going to big time all of you and go to an audio mix for a upcoming spaceship commercial. I work on a lot.
I wonder what spaceship that is. Actually, I think it's too late for them to do the Antares commercial right now. I think Antares commercial is ready already. I have a feeling, and yeah, it's something else probably.
The commercials and the web copy and anything that has to do with like lore, but also marketing stuff. And
That's the guy. That's the guy to blame. That's the guy to blame, boys. He said the word marketing. X1 maybe? I mean, wasn't X1 sold quite long ago? Including Spirit. I think they do the commercials only for the LTI sales. Maybe I'm wrong. I won't make like strong point on it. X1 was sold. Spirit was sold already. I think it's something unannounced. Either it is Antares commercial they're finishing up already, still finishing it up, or it is something unannounced.
that's how I contribute, usually from behind a 7-Eleven, as Jared said. That's usually during the pandemic where I've been working from. Yeah. I find the donuts are very cheap there.
The titles here, I'm fond of saying the titles are basically where you start. They don't generally define your overall scope and responsibilities. A title like the copywriter, but like you said, you're on your way to sit in on the sound mix session for an upcoming a vehicle commercial that's getting ready to air.
Yeah, basically our titles are meant to confuse civilians. That's basically. It's very secretive.
Right. Next, let's go to Adam. Adam, who are you and what do you do?
I am a lucky member of the narrative team. I've been here just about as long as you, Jared, about 8 years now.
Look, there are two spaces here. That right? You can have like 2 more people here. I should edit my layout right now and put my put my head, put myself into one of these boxes and just pretend I'm the part of the conversation.
Which is crazy to think about. So yeah, I just tackle any and all writing tasks that that come my way, whether it's mission text or barks, dialogue, in-game item descriptions, lore posts, jump point posts, whatever. I've touched a lot of different things. So yeah, that's what I do.
Do we have the big camera? I'm not seeing Adam on the big camera. You just see him in small.
Tony Fresh says, I heard rumors that they removed Snare from the Scorpion Antares ship. Actually, I've heard rumors that you were just trying to mess with me, dude. That's I heard those rumors. Is that lady still on the narrative team? The astronomer? I don't know. I like, no disrespect, I don't really follow narrative like lore team too much. I'm more of a like, yeah, I'm more of a, I think it would be a good question to Astropop. He knows that stuff for real. You heard that on Berg's Discord? I mean, Berg's told you he's gonna go live like last year, so I don't trust any information from Berg's Discord. I'm kidding. Probably they were trolling. I mean, the stats on Antares are there. Like, the ship is probably already in-game files because all the data was data mined on Antares. We just cannot spawn it. Apparently the ship is there. And since quite a few patches, that information been leaked. Let me quickly, sorry for like, constantly jumping off the video, but it's not that it's super entertaining, so we're gonna go back and forth. Let me quickly go into the pipeline Discord. I think that's a good play. Oh shit, what is this bug on me? Holy crap. So it appears here's the post. So it appears the what is that word? Efficacy? What is efficacy? On the Scorpius is in flux. QED on the Scorpius is in flux. The description changed in the last patch from the original stating it both snares and dampens to just dampening. The original description, the Tidelock quantum enforcement device, was internally designed by Robert Space Industries specifically for Scorpius and Antares. The carefully crafted design contains both quantum snare for pulling crafts out of quantum travel and quantum dampener from preventing quantum drive activation. The new description, internally designed by Robert Space Industries for a Scorpius Antares, the carefully crafted Tidelock quantum dampener generates a field that prevents quantum drive activation. Yeah, you were right. Yeah, you were right. I don't owe you anything, dude. You owe me a 1 year long subscription before I will owe you anything. So that's all right. I think we're even. Module name changed as well from Tidelock Quantum Enforcement Device to Tidelock Quantum Dampener. Yeah, I think CAG... I think CAG kind of listened. To our feedback. It's because it was really weird. I mean, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I don't know how to put it correctly. First of all, obviously, what's the point in Mantis? Right? What's the point in Mantis then? Second of all, what was my idea? And it's especially annoying when I don't have music on the stream and I just go silent because I lost my thought. and it's just silence on stream with me trying to remember what I try to say. Yeah, on the other side, if you fly Antares with 2 people, and if the pilot has no control over the utility devices, right, you cannot blame Antares too much. You're still spending 2 people, 2 players to do that. It's like you would be riding a separate, like, you know, a Mantis and a Vanguard, for example, right? So, from that point of view, Warlock, Vanguard, Warlock, doesn't matter, right? From that point of view, it's like, now it seems too weak, right? Because a Mantis and a Vanguard would be more powerful probably than Antares, right? That's why I said it's gonna be a meme ship, right? No matter what kind of balance they put into it, it's always gonna be a meme. It's either gonna be super overpowered, or it's gonna be like underpowered and a meme. In any case, it's gonna be a meme. Yeah? That's the whole... If you give this to a one pilot control, then it's a meme because like one pilot has EMP and dampener, right? And guns. Right? Like, if it doesn't have now a snare, I would say maybe you don't need a co-pilot, because like a Cuddy has a dampener and listen, like Cutlass Blue has a dampener, 4 size 3 guns, an ability to have someone in a turret, right? If needed so. It has official cargo space, unofficial cargo space, and the pods to carry prisoners, right? Antares would have... I mean, Kari has a problem of basically having very weak engines. Hopefully that's just gonna get fixed, right? Antares has 4 size 3 guns and a shit ton of missiles. I'm talking about the Cutlass. A shit ton of missiles. 48 size 1s or 6 size 4s, right? Or anything in between. So now the Antares has 4 size 3 guns, less missiles, less maneuverability, like less accelerations, less maximum speed. It has a dampener, and on top of that, it has EMP. That is, no one knows how the EMP gonna be in the end, right? No one knows that. But right now, EMPs are not that good, right? So actually, it on paper, it seems less efficient than even a Kari Blue, though it is more tanky, right? It is more tanky, but it's, again, those values are just like it's those values, like the tankiness and all that, is not the core logic of the ship, right? It's something they can balance out. So now it seems like, okay, if you get 2 people in a Kari Blue, you can even have a turret on top of that that will protect you from any molesting you light fighter. It will wreck them. And now what an Antares can do with 2 people, just additional EMP, like the potential now should go all to pilot, and like co-pilot should not even be a thing. But if you give it like a turret back, it's gonna be insanely OP. If you're gonna give it like a snare back, why do we even need a Mantis? You know? That's why it's gonna be always I feel like a meme ship. I don't know. And then again, the question is what Copilot does. Is it like only those 2 buttons and missiles? Is that it? Is that all Copilot does? Like it's weird. It's definitely weird. Like that ship needs some specific other unique properties to make it worth it. I know you're trying to meme, Tony, but like any multi-crew that is not useful, it's like no one will do it, right? No one will ever do it. Do you see a lot of people flying Super Hornet with a Copilot? No. I mean, we did. I must say, people get surprised. Like Super Hornet or Super Hornet with a Copilot really surprises people. It's not powerful enough, obviously. Just 2 Super Hornets would be better, but you cannot imagine how people get surprised fighting a Super Hornet with a Copilot. Like Light Fighter go on you, they think they get an angle on you, and then they're getting fucked by the small turret, and their shields never recharge, and they're dead. But it's more of a meme than an actual gameplay. Like cutlasses, guys, don't say like this. Even a Cutty Black gets nasty with a gunner. Cutlasses are, it's not even. Cutlasses are very powerful ships. Very powerful ships. People look at the 1 shield instead of 2 shields, and they think it's like, man, no. Like, if someone knows how to utilize the VTOL correctly, the abilities of the ship grows so crazily huge, no one just realizes that. And with a turret, it's just a killer. Yeah, dude, because the only reason for that, because the pilot was bad. If you would be fighting someone proficient with a Cutty, you would go down before you even blink in your Mantis. If you try to get into actual combat with them and not just stay like 5 kilometers from it, just interdicting it, right? If you would go just in actual combat with it, you would not be able to manage to fart before you die. You would lose your like 2 size 1 shields in like few seconds, and then he will hit your engine, boom, you start spinning, you're dead. Right? And you will not be able to get away unless all you do is just running away in your Mantis. Because the moment you try to disengage, those VTOLs with 32 or whatever, 31G trichord acceleration, gonna fuck you up, dude. Right? So saying, like, dude, I've killed like Vanguards in Aurora, right? Or you know, you name it. It's not like it's not how you. It's not Eve, right? Where you kind of more of a mathematical approach to ships, like counters, and it's like it's so reliable on the skill of the pilot. Okay, interesting. So they are backing up. That's like. That is the problem I always talk about. They come up with a marketing ship, they sell it, and they are stuck to it. Imagine they sell it with a snare, right? Imagine they sell the ship with a snare, and then it would just not work all right, and they would have to give it only the dampener after they sold it. Do you realize the amount of frustration the community will get? It's not just like nerfing at flight capabilities or something. It's like removing the ability it was sold with, right? Completely. Just you sold a ship that can do a snare, and then you remove it after people paid real money for it. It is the flaw. It is the flaw. It's the thing that will keep biting them back infinitely. It is the flaw. It's something I've been talking about. Like, yes, there is like a fine text, everything can change, but no one cares that you write the text. The frustration is huge. Guys, if they didn't want to lower the speed of ships like Carrack, Star Runner, and 400i, and few others, so they did not want to lower their speeds because they were kind of quote unquote afraid of the community backlash. And those speeds had to go down so they're able to get intercepted by like cutties and mantises and all that shit, right? Even that like create a problem. That imagine like removing an entire functionality from the ship. Yeah. So not to get a backlash from the community, they kind of had to increase the speed limits for interdiction ships even more. It's kind of harsh. And like, and when that's why I was so initially frustrated by the release of Antares, right? And what they teased us, especially when I heard it's gonna have a snare. It's like, this is all such a like dangerous game they're playing, right? Well, anyway, we'll see how it goes. Now it's kind of weird. Now the ship is going into the opposite kind of weirdness where what is even the point of it, you know? So yeah, okay, let's just get back to the video. Did you watch the Mongol Squad? Yeah. No, well, I watched the initial stuff about it. I've read the thread and all that. Yeah, we've been over this already.
The big camera's not working? The button not working? Try hitting Alt on the keyboard that's behind you.
Try hitting Alt on the keyboard and then pressing the third person view. That's what he should have said. If he would said that, I would say the show was a success.
Hit Alt F2.
Alt F4! He should have said Alt F4.
Alt F2.
If there was any doubts that this was a live show.
And if Alt F2 doesn't work, hit Alt F1.
Or Alt F4.
Nope.
Oh, there we
This is
go.
all scripted.
Or Alt F4.
Yeah, this is all.
Zoom has decided not to behave.
I also need some help with my Outlook mail rules, Jared, if you've got some time
Yeah.
during the show. Filter.
All right,
some of these.
so today's show is going to be in the grid, Brady Bunch style, I guess, since we can't do the punch-in. Matt, this is the first time you and I have ever interacted. I don't think we've ever talked to each other. They're like, yeah, you want Matt in here? And I'm like, sure. Who the heck is Matt?
Yeah,
Tell me
Extravaganza. That's what we've been talking about.
Who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so I'm a narrative designer here at Cloud Imperium Games, and what that means changes on the day and who's asking. But to kind of keep it player focused for the moment, I am the mission givers guy. I work with the mission feature team, I work with AI content, I work with animation, I work with all the different people, and my job is to take the mission givers and get them into the game so that you guys can interact with them. I think that's...
And just to clarify there, Matt is a new addition to the team, and he's working on future patches to be like, you know, oh, this guy's been standing on a table for 3 years. It's a new initiative to get that kind of sorted. So don't send angry messages to Matt.
Yeah,
he's joined us to help.
He's still new. Give him some time. Give him some time before you roast him in effigy. And then,
okay, thanks, guys.
And then ask him why Clem just stands there. Jeremy, another relatively, you've been here for a while now, but I think this is your first show. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Jeremy. I'm the newest writer, specifically on the narrative team. I joined summer last year, and I'm in kind of a similar role to Adam. I do most of my work focuses on the PU, writing items and missions and working with different teams like Montreal and MFT and all that to bring some more content to the PU.
Will, I'm going to ask you to tell folks who you are and what you do, and I'm going to ask you to take a little bit of time because I'm going to see if I can fix the Zoom while you talk. I'm still hear you though. Go ahead.
Oh my God.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Will Weisbaum, the lead writer for the narrative team.
Jared is such a dick.
Just
went away to fix the Zoom. I love the guys talking.
Content, creating documentation to help inspire the other teams when they do their work, writing scripts, writing short stories, all that kind of fun stuff. To jump ahead of it, we have a few team members that I would like also to shout out who couldn't be with us here today, but they are an important, vital part of the team. Our wonderful producer, Blythe, Sherry, our other writer, who some of you know as an archivist, but she's expanding into more and exciting things and really, might know her best these days for all her work on the Galactopedia. And we also have our other narrative designer, Tung, who's joined our narrative design team, who's been knocking out a lot of work on AI behaviors and getting them doing cool things in the game, which we should hopefully in future patches start rolling out into the PU. So you see the NPCs doing more interesting things as they go about their day. So.
Yeah. And a shout out to Tung. He wanted to be here, but Zoom was having some trouble with him. It was locking him out of his account, and we were trying to get him into the call right up until the beginning of the show. So, Tung, our hearts go out to you. And if you end up being able to join, like if you're watching on stream and you end up Zoom lets you in halfway through, jump in the call. We're losing Mike halfway, so come in. You'll be in the second half.
That's right. Come meet us behind the 7-Eleven.
It'll be an upgrade, I promise. And last but certainly not least, narrative director. What is your title these days, Dave? Who are you and what do you do?
Tell me, guys, if they're gonna launch a hot
certainly
fix
least.
to the PTO, okay?
Yeah.
If someone will notice it.
Crew to, come up with missions and storylines and characters and work on Squadron and the PU and yeah, do all sorts of.
I know, Tony, I know.
Stuff. And also acting
all
as
good.
a mule to bring some stuff over to Jared.
He's not joking. He's not joking. I won't get into it, but the VAT import charges into this country are ridiculous. So we have I basically have a series of suitcases and bags and stuff at the LA office, and things get sent, and whoever the next person is gets to be my mule bringing stuff over. And
So I just finished taping it to my body to leave for the airport.
Oh, CAG members evading and dodging paying taxes. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I wonder what's the Venn diagram of our players and TSA agents that are currently listed.
Well, I don't think the TSA agents care that they're not the problem. It's the Customs and Border Force here in the UK. Fascists.
Whoa.
Sorry, I'm gonna get in trouble.
Whoa.
All right,
Whoa.
so that is a brief introduction to many of the members of our narrative team. Let's talk a little bit about how you work and interface with development. Now,
hey, Sherpa,
Matt touched on it a little bit, but I think one of the big misconceptions, one of the things that always kind of comes up in conversation is this kind of chicken and the egg sort of situation. Do things start with story? Do things start with an idea from the narrative and then that gets handed to the developers and they take it and run? Or does a designer or an artist or whatever go and make a thing and then come to you and be like, I need you to retroactively make this fit and work within our universe? Let's talk about that process. I'm willing to guess it's probably both.
Oh, that's bottle is bigger than him. Looks cool.
I'll kick it off. Yeah. Basically, it's usually both, a little bit of both. Sometimes, because we've been building the lore of the universe so expansively for
I don't know what his title. He
past
just
10 years,
exists.
There's a lot of stuff that we've already established. So sometimes it's about taking something like that and, the designers finally getting around to building it. So they have kind of they're working off of a loose narrative framework of what, you know, a planet was intended to be or conceived of or something like that. And then they use that as a launching place. And then of course we work with them, because one of the things that we've always been trying to do is be very cryptic, as far as not necessarily like trying to infer tone or characters as opposed to specifics. So we give the artists the ability to be creative and apply their skills to it to make it even better. So usually it'll be like, hey, we're going to build this planet. Here's the established lore for it. You know, here's what we were sort of thinking, and then working with them. And then sometimes it is, you know, hey, we've got this new mission idea that we want to do. How can we incorporate it into the universe or location or whatever?
So
What
complicated.
are some examples of things that started from narrative? Like I said, in the early days, you all were tasked with coming up with star systems and planets and stuff like that. But what were some of the things that players would have seen in the universe now and stuff like that that clearly started with narrative and then made their way to the verse?
Nothing.
I mean, standing system.
Yeah.
I mean, what's interesting is that, like, a lot of the location stuff on a high level begins with the seeds that we planted, or, you know, Dave specifically planted a decade ago, where, you know, what is the system? What does this feel of the system? What are these 4 worlds? And of course, we do iterations.
Yet again, you remain to be an idiot, so it is what it is, dude.
Where, like, art and design get their hands on it and make it better, and then we go back and we make sure.
I also wish I had more. I'm probably not an idiot, but I wish I had more self-consciousness and willpower to just not play games and complain about them, or play a game and complain about it. I'm not gonna lie, I tried, but CG told me I'm not good enough. So here I am, listening to these guys and not even bothering to ban you, dude. Just like reading what you say, you know.
That
everyone gets what they deserve.
The narrative matches the final product, but so I think that's the kind of biggest impact of arriving on the Cloud City Orison. Like, that was a narrative kind of idea of a cool location that would be fun to go visit. It's pretty awesome getting to see those ideas realized and being able to experience them as a player in the game. So,
and then of course, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought somebody was talking.
And then, like, you know, Jeremy can talk about it. Like, recently, like WildStar Racing, the org behind the racing was like, there were. I mean, I guess it technically started as a design request because they're like, we'll need a racing org, but like, you know, that what they are and who they do, that was all kind of Jeremy working on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's like areas, right, where we're still trying to develop like a lot of the gameplay infrastructure, right, for things that people want to see in the game. Like salvage is another great example, but what I've found in my experience is the teams are just really collaborative. And so though there might be a mandate that starts from design, everyone's very open to talking about how that can be elaborated upon. And I think the biggest constraint is less like, where do the ideas start, and more, what do we have the ability to execute on in terms of like scope management. And so salvage and racing both had contributions where I think we got to work, well, on those missions in particular, I was doing a lot of the writing and got to work really closely with those designers to integrate the lore and the design and make sure that they each supported each other.
Yeah. Let's talk about that process. So a designer comes to you, or a director or whatever, they say, hey, we
50
want
minutes
to
more
develop,
of this.
well, on the 319 roadmap, for instance, let's go ahead and talk about that. There are new salvage missions, salvage-specific missions. So let's keep on that thread. That way we can keep this to stuff that's coming in 319. The request comes into you we want to add some salvage missions. What do you have to do to support that?
About CG not looking at other games, CG has this, I would say sometimes it's an illness. They try to reinvent the wheel that's been already invented, And it's kind of weird because Star Citizen is a game that is basically a combination of multiple games in one package. But I think what they failed to achieve is have an understanding what other games did good, and mimicking it, where it's not a complete copycat, but it bases upon the solid logic that other projects had. So yeah, this reinvention of things that end up being poorly reinvented and just don't work like properly in terms of gameplay, that is what like always feels weird to me. Like they're trying to innovate in every aspect of gameplay mechanics where no innovation is required. So it's a good approach when it doesn't go too ridiculous, right? I think what they're doing on the core tech is great. It's going slow, but those things cannot go fast, and that should have been their main selling point. Not trying to reinvent like some stuff that's been done in other games for years and is successful logic, great logic. Like it goes starting with the mobiGlass and then far and beyond. Like the mobiGlass is a first example of that logic, which been here since the start of the PU, and is a terrible design overall. Like this hand animation. I think a lot of people don't remember or were not here when the mobiGlass itself forced people not to play the game, where it just wouldn't work. Like it would your arm would go up and down, up and down. It will not close, it will not open, and like literally people quit the game because of the mobiGlass itself. Thanks God those times are gone. But still, this it's a very small thing, but it's in the core of the game, and it's annoying. Like this animation, like how after all the years, CAG couldn't come up with logic where this is just a menu, and it appears instantly on your visor if you have a helmet on. Right? It's one of my oldest trends. Right? If you have a helmet on, your helmet should be working like any Bluetooth device in your phone right now, right? It is connected to your mobiGlass, and whenever you activate it, the Mobi interface will just instantly pop on your screen with maybe quarter of a second animation, half of a second animation, without this everyone stupidly standing with their hand up like this, watching the TV show from the 80s, you know? And only if you don't have a helmet. It should be a more of a RP stuff where you use your main device, aka like an iPhone, right? Instead of your AirPods to listen to music, right? Only if you don't have a helmet, you would put the hand up and you will use your main device because you don't have a visor in front of you, right? Why that is not a thing over the years? How long it took to have a keybind to request landing, you know, instead of doing 5-second thing to every time request landing and take off instead of just pressing a keybind. It took them 3 or 4 years. It took them 2 years after my thread appeared with that request. And it's only just one little example. The equipment system, how many iterations went through the ship equipment? Do you remember the old ship equipment system, which was literally unusable at all because someone wanted too much of an immersion in the game? This 3D model of a ship that you had to rotate and put the items in those bubbles, which never worked. They would misplace it. Everything would be misplaced, and you would just just kick your monitor with your leg or your fist before you manage to equip the ship. And then we got the equipment in the mobiGlass, which is kind of better, but it's still ugly, and it's like awful. Those things have to be in the core of the game. You cannot just like keep them delaying for years in this awful state. And now look at the player equipment. I mean, it's got better. I mean, the I button, right? But like all this like 3D unimmersive thing. Like, why do you even see your character with all the immersion in mind of the game, quote unquote? Why do you even see your character from third person? All the less like floating items where you have to drag and place, and it's hard to remove, and you don't really see what's. It's slowly getting better. Like, and all of that is just because CAG tries to reinvent like every aspect of the game, where for decades there are good, reliable ways to do it. And that's like very little examples. I'm not even talking about the gameplay mechanics right now. The logic of gameplay mechanics, the basic logic of risk reward, that is like not there yet after all the years. While it is possible with the current engine possibilities and the server possibilities, not much of an extra code is required to like create those gameplay loops. No, it's not there. It's like they're just reinventing everything.
From a narrative standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I think usually it starts off with a meeting of some kind, which I know everyone in the community loves so much. But once we've had an opportunity to kind of sync and see what they're thinking from a design standpoint, it's about looking at the lore we have that's already established and saying what exists that can support it. And if there are opportunities within that, then we try to kind of build upon that with either the mission premises that design has already come up with, or by suggesting new mission premises within the scope of that activity, like salvage, which grew in that process.
Give me some specifics. We're weapons free on the salvage missions. They're announced, they're on the roadmap. Talk to me, what was the thing you had to create?
Yeah, so the introduction of like the mission giver mission into that, we're doing a lot of work to just be really on top of which mission givers are could use additional content. Should I say which mission giver? Is that
weapons free. Go talk.
Oh wow,
Darley.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get to do a lot of stuff with salvage, particularly in this case. Does someone else want to take it? I feel weird being in the spotlight.
I mean,
Oh my god, this dude is literally afraid to say something and leak something so he's not gonna get slapped on the ass. You can see like even that Jared gave him a weapon free, right? A weapons hot, he's still trying to drop it on someone else. I mean, I cannot blame him, right? Like, I cannot blame him if he's not the top of the food chain guy, right? He might get smacked for it, right? CR is looking. Oh, don't you dare say a word, buddy. Don't you dare.
one interesting thing that was kind of like something that I think we worked between narrative and design on is this idea of these early missions as salvaging is maturing, because it's still like, you know, tier 0 newer system of it not being fully as robust as where we want it to go. Eventually, we were talking to them about, all right, what is the end of the mission like? Are the players returning the recycled material composite? And that was feeling sort of weird in that, like, why would this mission giver care about like collecting a big pile of scrap material? and so then it sort of evolved through our conversations with them into, oh, maybe they're selling you the rights to a location. And so like the missions themselves are more like buying the rights to the location of a ship for you to salvage. Whereas of course players can go out and find their own salvage, but sometimes it simplifies it. If you're willing to drop some credits, we'll give you an exact location of a ship totally ripe for collecting materials, and you get to keep all the profits after that. So that was kind of something that had a little bit of back and forth that we helped influence of trying to figure out like, why is this organization offering this mission? What do they want out of it? Does this make sense? And often we kind of tweak stuff with them where they have like multiple possible paths, and we kind of hone in on what feels best and what
Yeah,
makes the
and-
most sense.
In that process, we
He still didn't say who that is. Oh my god, they're dodging so badly. So, Gorgon, I think they might lower down because like those insane amount, that insane amount of 890 jumps and C2s make no sense around Lagrange points. I think this is something super temporarily before we have these missions, right, Gorgon? And on PTU, so people can easily test out the mechanics. I think that's one of the reasons. It may stay like this in 3.18, but I have a feeling the moment we get those missions in 3.19, those infinite amounts of 890 racks around Lagrange, it just makes zero sense, like logically, why there would be so many dead 890s around a Lagrange point, right? Like, what? First of all, what they were all doing there in the first place? What? Cruising the industrial, like, dirty refinery station? What? Enjoying the views? No, right? No. Yeah. So I think those racks are extremely temporarily until they have a better mechanics. Like those missions where it's gonna be like something, oh, there was a battle, like Navy were fighting like Ninetales to like whatever, you know. There is some money to earn. Like if you want, I can give you the location for a price, and then whatever you earn, right? And that would make much more sense. That you would be sent to a places where the battles took place or something. Or there was like a, for example, a rescue beacon, and like the transport was destroyed or something, and you can get some salvage. Maybe you can get some leftovers of cargo. You know, that would make much more sense, right? I think this amount of racks is just a very temporary thing, and it will hopefully like go away sooner than later. But again, I hope it will go away in a manner of it still can be contested, right? It still can be a PvP encounter, because what they did with Aaron Hallow Belt is really bad.
We ended up creating a new organization, Adagio, to handle more of the
Oh.
lawful salvage.
Okay, so we it's not Darnley. Maybe it also him, but they're talking about the new org.
And we ended up creating a new organization, Adagio, to handle more of the lawful salvage. And when we were figuring out new opportunities, we assigned the new mission giver salvage mission to Clovis Darneely, who will be handling that.
That's him.
And
Okay.
just kind of breaking down, I know when MFT was on here, they talked about the 3 different kinds of salvage missions that there are, but there's going to be more than just those 3 that we're kind of building and working towards. And hopefully salvage will continue to develop beyond that, just because it's a really fun game.
Racks are tied to procedural generation. Like, I mean, I understand that, right? My point is, they can tweak that procedural generation, because procedural generation is generated upon a specific algorithm logic and the seed, right? So they can change that seed. And if they will create enough content with the missions they're talking about right now, they can just tweak down the amount of wrecks around Lagrange points or Aaron Hallow Belt. That's what I'm pointing out. Like, Quanta is the next thing, and it's God know when it comes in. And yes, in future, it probably is going to influence and create those racks. But if it's procedural generation, it doesn't mean you cannot change it the way it generates it. So what I'm saying is, what we have right now on PTU just makes zero logical sense, but they are forced to do it so people can easily test it. And maybe even test it through 3.18, but when they will come up with more logical solutions on missions, I'm quite confident they're gonna tune down the amount of like hundreds of broken 890 jumps around one Lagrange point. You know what I mean?
Gameplay loop, and it has a ton of cool opportunities. I mean, just the introduction of the soft death mechanics, I think like this fundamentally changed things in the verse. And so seeing that supported with narrative, like mission content and procedural mission content, I think is really exciting to me.
I want to follow up on that. Go ahead, Will. You were talking.
It would also like the introduction of the new outlaw group, the Tar Pits is coming in, where they have kind of a fun little backstory. TAR stands for like tow and rescue, which they're known for kind of using fake tow ships to trick people and attack them or steal their ship when they're pretending to be a tow company.
Oh, they sound almost like
they're
griefers.
basically selling you salvage right locations because they have too much work on their hands. They can't handle it all themselves, and so they're giving you an opportunity to buy one off them, kind of thing, for more. And there's more risk in the locations they sell and stuff like that. So it's interesting.
So not only do we have players using service beacons to lure and trap people, and now we have NPC organizations. They're like, yeah, we're coming to help you, and we're not.
Yeah. That's what they sometimes do in rescue beacons. They would come up to a not rescue beacons, but like protection beacons. You know what I mean? You would come up there, and the NPCs will be like, "Hey, it's a raid. We gotcha," you know, and start attacking you. So yeah.
Not in gameplay yet, but thematically, that's kind of the idea, to keep you on your toes. At least that's the way this game operates. So.
It's never easy.
Wait, not in gameplay yet, just to keep you on your toes. That's how this game operates. Let's cut it to not in gameplay yet. This is how this game operates. Okay. Yo, Motors, thank you so much for the raid. We are bored to shit waiting for the patch to drop, the hotfix to drop, and we're watching the yesterday's Star Citizen Live about navigating narratives. So if your guys are also have nothing better to do, you can you know, stay a while and listen. Things like these missions I really don't care about. I want Jared CG to answer one question. Master modes, weapon and component damage, boreal stalk. Oh, that's the beast, right? On the planet. Proper long range scanning armor. They will never answer you those questions, unfortunately. You can want all as much as you want, but yeah. All right.
As far as other examples where narrative,
where's my phone?
Stuff in the game, Mike. It wasn't this last year's IE, but it was the year before where Jax did the whole spray paint thing on the roof.
The salvage mission is for everyone. No salvager will take it. Yes, they talked about it. They talked about it's being a public contract. I think we will end up with different types of missions, Robert. My guess would be you will have the public contracts with most reward, but because they're public, it's the most risk, right? So the place will be contested by people like me pirating other salvagers, or at least just scaring off the competition for your salvagers to come in and just, you know, peacefully salvage them while you fly around and make sure nothing bad happens to them and no one else takes the salvage you want, right? And they will, and I guess there will be missions, also like more of a solo thing. They will grant you less profit, like the ships will be smaller, maybe they will be more damaged, and maybe you will have to fight off like a few NPCs here or there, especially if that's from those illegal guys, but they will be not public contracts. You'll just go to a location, you have a beacon, and unless, I don't know, miracle happens, you know, no one will ever find you, right? Unless someone dropped a box on your ship with a marker, like we do sometimes with the miners. Unless that happens, theoretically, yeah, like combat beacons, but you'll just get like, hey, there was like a ship destroyed right there. You can take care of it. If you pay me money, I'll give you location, where to go and like salvage it up, maybe take the remains of cargo, whatsoever, and it's not going to be a public contract. I think public contracts would be like bigger stuff, like a big battle happened, maybe remains of Idrises, whatsoever, hammerheads, like bigger ships that give you like good bulk salvage opportunities, and those going to be like public, and those going to be contested. It's like what I think. I think they will give options to players. Like CAG loves to cater to solo single player audience. They will probably not miss the opportunity, because the people will cry so much they're getting killed. They will give like solo missions. I hope they just keep this balance. Those who wants to get maximum profit, they have to contest it. I think that's the biggest issue with the CAG logic right now, is the logic of risk reward. CAG consistently over the years fails to achieve proper risk reward logic, and it is going even today with the reward of combat missions versus reward of, for example, trading compared to how much risk is involved, right? I just hope they will slowly start nailing down that like risk reward logic, because all this time we've been playing this game, that logic never made a tiny bit of sense. It was always off, it was always broken, always inaccurate, always opposite of what it has to do, right?
And everything. That was the thing that originated, with you guys. And
anyone knows what RS means when you're pinging and scanning ping boxes? So I don't know, I might be wrong on the exact translation, but I think RS means rock signature, so you don't mix it up with like ships and all that. Though in the asteroid field, trying to navigate it is just impossible. So ships by themselves, they don't emit any RS. Only rocks do, like mining rocks. So I feel it means just rock signature. Unfortunately, the like shipwrecks with the implementation of salvage, they also emit rock signature or RS. Maybe RS stands for something different, and then it makes sense. But for now, the RS is also emitted by the Rex. They have CS and IR though, right? Right and wrong. I haven't checked it in the recent patches. I remember the first patches with salvaging. Shipwrecks were emitting CS, IR, and EM, which also makes zero sense. A wreck that's been out there in the field, it should not really emit any kind of EM signature. The systems are dead. Power plant is not working. There should be zero EM signature or close to zero. Same goes to IR signature. That stuff would probably cool down at some point by just passive radiation, even without atmosphere, just by irradiating hit. It should cool down and have almost close to no IR signature. I think the Rex should just give you like CS signature. But again, with the current scan mechanics, none of that matters, because the scanning is so bad, so poorly implemented. Unless you are scanning in the open space for a ship that should be somewhere near you, but you cannot catch it in the radar, and you just try to identify its location. Other than that, scanning is completely unusable and broken. I mean, only if you're mining, yeah. Then you go to Aaron Hallow and you just see where the nearest rock is. But if you're trying to find a ship somewhere in asteroid field, just forget about it. Just literally forget about it. Did you see my post on Spectrum? Nope. No, I didn't.
And putting together those Jax things, and that ended up making it, into the game. are there other things like that where you've had ideas that started outside and somehow made their way in?
I mean, yeah. So that's a good example of something like that. That was sort of like we wanted to get that into the game, and that that was originally pitched as like something that would be fun to put as just a visual thing you could find that once it happened in the series, and they made it happen, which is really cool, and that was super fun. There's some other times that it's happened more accidentally, which is like a funny kind of weird thing where, so like take for example the Banu Defender commercial back a few years back for that ship. I wrote the script for that and included in it a sort of MacGuffin piece of alien tech that the woman in it picks up, and it's kind of like glows or whatever. And it was really just meant to be like, ooh, we're in an alien environment with things that they don't understand. It was really, and props came up with this weird little piece of tech, this weird little cube, and really just a throwaway thing in this commercial to like establish tone. And then they eventually made it like as a real prop in the game because people like loved it or something. I don't know. It was like people demanded that we be able to have the Banu cube. There it is in real life. It exists in real life now, that's really crazy that it's like come full circle and something that was totally tossed off in a script. And similarly, in the the Prowler commercial, in the original script.
I hope they'll copy even line scanning. I liked it a lot for player anomalies, wormholes. So CAG at some point of development had in a tracker, and it's a progress tracker, right? Had a thing called long range probe scanning. It had to be released around autumn or winter last year. Unfortunately, it magically disappeared from the progress tracker, magically. So I assume that has to be something close to probing an Eve. Obviously, I don't know if the interface will be similar, like how it's gonna work, but if they don't provide this kind of system-wide scanning, again, for ability to like find other people, and they will definitely do it for to have an ability to find like derelicts and all that stuff, more PvE stuff. Will that system, whenever it's released, allow us to find other ships? That's questionable. If they don't do it, then the gameplay will get more shallow. Like there will be less PvP contesting stuff, right? But again, it's questionable if they want to use that system to find other people. You can do it like a workaround. You can go to those sites without looking specifically for people, but just looking for the sites and looking for people inside of those sites, whatever those sites, like rec sites, I don't know, whatever, right? So it could probably be done that way, but hopefully a system will come in sooner or later that will mimic in somewhat what Eve does for system scans, right? So we can only like just dream about it, theory craft, but that's about it. I think a lot of tech is required for it. I know that we all know that there are like things like object container streaming, like what information you get, what information you don't get. So like I think there is a huge engineering effort that has to be done behind that tech, so you can collect data from what you would usually not see from the server, especially considering we are moving at some point in time into server meshing. So you would probably need to talk to different DGSs, right? To different like nodes that serve other parts of the star system, right? So they give you the feedback of what's going on. It's like, I think behind that tech is a huge engineering effort. like with the complexity of how this game works compared to Eve, I think that's why it was removed. The amount of like engineering effort is insane behind that kind of gameplay. And top of that, you have to actually come up with how that gameplay works. And on top of that, you have to come up with some sort of an interface on how that game works, on how that gameplay works. Is it done like in a specific ships? Is it done only in exploration ships with which have those like consoles with the globe and the star system and all that? Could it be done like through with the utility we don't even have ship like that does that, so it's either has to be like a dedicated ship like Eve has, like co-ops ships, right, with those probes, or can you install that on a utility mount that still is a myth on any ship, right? It's that system touches so many aspects, like it touches every aspect of the game, gameplay wise and engineering wise, right? So they will have to come up at least with an interface for Mobiglass, and you all know how map is working right now. It's the most outdated and disgusting part of the game, the F2, the map. So apparently, if that's going to be done through a Mobiglass to some extent, that map, it wouldn't come before the map is completely reworked and is in a much better state. No matter how I want this to be a thing, I understand what a terrible, terrifying amount of work has to be done to make those long probe scanning a thing, right? That's the problem with it. That is why scanning is going to be broke AF for the next 3-5 years. No, I don't really think so. I think that the thing I was talking about, like a long range scanning, probing, is completely different technology. The basic scanning your ship has in a like scan operator mode is different. You can fix it and make it better much quicker. What you need to do to make it better is increase immensely the ability of your radar to ping. Like the distances have to be much bigger. Like I would say the distance for a normal ship, like just normal radar, like size 1 radar, has to be like 5 times bigger. It's just a guesstimation. I might be wrong. And then those ships that have advanced radars, like we're talking Terrapin, we're talking Carrack, we're talking Hornet Tracker, those have to have like insane multiplier for the pinging, right? MSR, true. Those have to have insane multiplier for pinging. The question is how this goes to object container streaming and server calling. Like I remember the patches when like pinging was pretty cool, where you could overall the radar I felt worked much better. You could actually ping. You would be able to ping a ship. Like first of all, the signatures were more logical. Like the shields working, they would emit like the bigger the shield is, the crazier the value would be. So like you would see bigger ships from like, 50 kilometers. You would see crazy big ships almost from like 500 kilometers or like 300 kilometers, right? Because like the EM signature of an Idris or 890 jump would be like 300,000 K, 300,000, right? 300K emissions on EM shields, and if it would be charging, it would go any higher. So you could see like those big ships from like 500 kilometers, and then you could ping them. I remember I was able to ping those big ships from 1,000 kilometers and further. I was able to ping, right? 1,000 kilometers, guys, 1,000 All of that is gone. It's broken. The values went wrong. Like they dumped it down for whatever reason. That all is broken. And that was cool. That was cool. You see that big ship, but you don't know the escorts. You go in and boom, like last 20 kilometers, you know, size 1 escorts start to pop in. Oh, you're screwed. You're now getting scrambled by Mantis. You wanted to go on a big ship. You thought it's an easy prey for you. Boom. Escorts appear in like 20, pop in 20 kilometers, hidden by the signature. On top of that, hidden by the signature of a huge ship. You don't see them. Now you're getting screwed. That is no longer a thing. So there were patches when it worked cool. But on top of all of that, we need filtering in scanning. We need a scanner to be able to remove the signatures you don't like. We need to be able to remove like RS signatures, you know, so we don't get like rocks, like maybe cross-section signatures, so we don't get racks, you know. For example, you should be able to scan only for EM and IR. Yeah. For some reason, Vanguard is like 74K away. Well, you have to look at its signatures. Like, I think all of that goes into signatures, and then probably some of the signatures are broken. So, in that regard, I can say I don't think that the usual scanning we use and pinging is a really huge effort to improve. They just don't want to do it because they have different priorities. I think it's just they have to go through the values and they have to like add filtering and add the magnitude, the multiplier to pinging, so it's just looks into the space better and further. And then a lot of gameplay, PvP gameplay can be yet again revitalized, looking for rock miners, you know, looking for salvagers around Lagrange points, like anything. Looking for miners in like yellow asteroid belt if someone is still doing that. Still things like miners going to air and hell, that's unreachable, but that will create much more opportunities. What else? Yeah, and on the other hand, with everything I've said before, the long-range probe scanning, it's an effort. It's a huge effort, and I don't think we're gonna see it anywhere in the near future. So I just put that dream on a shelf. It's gathering dust, and I don't think about it because every time I think about it, I get very, very upset.
There was supposed to be these mercenaries that had on their face masks was like painted a sort of like vaguely avian, you know, bird-like thing, sort of almost like skull-like. And it was, again, just sort of supposed to be a flavor detail because the Tavaran are like these, you know, bird-type aliens, and it was meant to just kind of be evocative of that. But characters came up with like a really cool-looking helmet. They kind of like took it and ran. Instead of just having like a decal, it was like they kind of created an entirely new thing that then like everybody was like, oh, well, we want that. Like everybody's going to want that. So we actually made it as an armor. And then had to come up with lore like retroactively for like why this there. Oh my god, I did not know that existed.
This has not been planned. This has not been planned. Just good.
But everyone just started throwing out items and see if Jared.
Continue throwing out things and see if I have them.
It's not the worst armor though.
Banu, frozen Banu. No, but full size frozen Banu. No, but so there we go. There's a great example of that. And then we had to like literally come up with some lore for like what company put that out and why they did it. And, you know, because again, something that was meant as just flavor in a commercial then became like a real life thing in the game and in the world of the game. So it's kind of like these things can come from accidents and then end up in the game, or, you know, things that we generate as background details and then become like fully fleshed out things.
Adam
Not your size.
Who made it and what was
Not
it
your
called?
size, Jared.
It's
I don't think. I'm not even sure that will fit on the head like of my kid. You know, it's quite freaking small.
You know, I put it in a script.
my giant gargantuan melon head doesn't fit.
Well, that's meant for Tavarin, obviously.
Apparently. Let's move on to talking about, because I know we're going to lose Mike here in a little bit, about how you work as a team. Walk me through a typical day, or maybe that's a little too granular, a week in the narrative team. Do you go off and work on your own and then come back for syncs? Do you pair off into tasks? Talk to me about how the team dynamics work and how you guys work together.
It's a shame Blythe isn't here. She would be able to walk you through it step by step.
That was a question for the producer, and the producer in here. So.
Yeah, we actually don't know how to do it ourselves without Black.
Yeah, we're very confused. I mean, usually standard week, we kick off on Monday mornings with kind of a stand-up meeting with everybody, kind of talk through like what are current tasks that are on the docket, if there are any major priorities, if anyone's been working on anything that has got blockers or.
Cadmus, that is exactly why we're watching this video and talk about everything besides of what is in this video. We're just burning down the time and hoping that the patch, the hotfix they're trying to implement is going to be released before the video ends, right?
There are issues that have come up with kind of talk about their goals for the week and stuff like that. And then that ends with a fight club. But basically it's, we kind of will assign tasks, again, we have a lot of different requests coming in on covering a lot of different, I mean, as everyone's been sort of saying, like.
When I see this guy in black and white, I just imagine he is on low HP. Like in games when you get damaged, the screen will get more and more desaturated. Like, and when you're like below like 10%, you're gonna go like black and white, right? he's like on his last, dude. He's like, he needs a med pen, like desperately. He needs a med pen.
Covering a lot of different topics, so it can be a bunch of item descriptions, proposals for mission types, new organizations, rep charts, scripts, meetings with design to talk over, level reviews, stuff like that. So it's kind of one of the fun things about this job is that you can't really, there's no such thing as a standard week. You're always kind of getting weird curveballs, and there's unusual things to be working on and kind of to switch up your mindset and stuff like that. So which can be a blessing and a curse at times, but it certainly
I lost the track.
Doesn't get boring.
Damn.
But then we basically, everyone just kind of goes off and starts tackling the things that they were looking to tackle. And, we will source each other if we need to, and reviews kind of move up the chain.
You're 45 minutes into waiting for someone to answer a medical beacon, and you just start talking to Jared, about lore because you have nothing better to do than see your your screen go like fade and unfade, fade and unfade. You just start talking different weird things just to shorten your time,
So we'll do rewrites and iterations, and if it requires syncs with the outside teams or dependents and stuff like that, or stakeholders in it, we'll have those meetings. And then, by the end of the week, we have a thing, it's called our weekly narrative jam, where we basically...
That's how they force them to work on lore. They would let them play, then in-cap them, and then just put them in front of a now work. It is 1 hour 30 minutes before revival.
It's an opportunity. It's kind of a scheduled hour-long meeting where we can bring the entire brain trust together. And so if people have questions that they want to kind of put to the entire group of like, hey, how does mustard exist? And if mustard does exist, what kind of mustard is it? Have we finally kicked spicy mustard to the curb? Are we finally embracing yellow mustard for the great condiment that it is? That type of thing, and then talking it out. Or it just becomes an opportunity for everybody to kind of hang out and talk movies and, exchange memes, stuff like that.
I don't know.
We have finally cracked mustard 900 years.
About the medical gameplay, Anteater, dude, I think medical gameplay requires so much love. Like that med gun, the all being omnipresent med gun, should just go away. The thing, its abilities should be culled down. It's too bad. Like it ruins like the idea of you willing to survive. Just have a buddy with a med gun, you know? That's it. Like med gun may stabilize you while you're in cap. Again, like I think the basic stuff that should be changed in like medical gameplay to even make like Kari Red and like Pisces more relevant, right? Besides the ships that can just respawn you. I think there are two options. You can go with it. I think the easier option would be let any bed respawn you. Like respawning is a whole other story that I touched on when there was this Carrack Karen drama. Respawning shouldn't be free. It should cost you like biomass, solid green, clone material, whatever you call it. You have to buy it in the cities or like whatever at any medical facility. It should be something you put inside of your bed. It should cost a lot. So like one respawn costs you like 50K or something, right? So you won't spam them, just like that guy did in that drama video. You want that to be limited for different gameplay, especially PvP scenario reasons. So like just dying and respawning, and even in PvE, dying, respawning, and going back into the bunker is just bad, right? That should be a thing in the first place with the medical gameplay. Then the other thing that that could be a thing is any bed lets you to respawn, but I mean that's like kind of a bad move though. But not every bed lets you heal up the wounds. How it can respawn you if you cannot like heal the wounds? Yeah, it makes no sense. I mean, it kind of does make sense because of how like respawning works. It's like imprint, and your like state of your body can be transferred in a bad state, and then healing it, not every bed can actually heal it. So basically you can still respawn at a Pisces, but if you got a tier 1 injury or tier 2 injury, you won't be able like to recover it in a Pisces. So you may no longer continue with the mission. But overall, I feel it's a bad, no, forget it. I don't like that concept already. Like I just said it, and I'll instantly like nullified it. It's bad. No, I think the way the medical gameplay should change is the med gun, besides the cost for the respawn that I talked about, right? The med gun shouldn't be like all healing thing and all reviving thing. Maximum what it should do is kind of stabilize you, stabilize your timer, right? To revive someone in the middle of a battlefield, you have to have a specialized suit and backpack or whatever, like a medical backpack that will have almost zero space in it, maybe just for some medical items, like more med pens or something. And it's going to be like an portable ACG or whatever that is called, just to get you back to life, like the battlefield, like, right? But they can come up with whatever different visuals for it, you know, like you stick in some like needles and I don't know, the wires from it does whatever, but it has to be a specialized device, right? That does that. And yes, make professions more gear locked. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. And that the that backpack is the whole purpose of it doing that. It should be like heavy, or at least medium. Like it should cripple your movement, like for a medic, right? You shouldn't be able to take any kind of gear into it. Maybe like a very little amount, but it should have the ability to put someone up. And that animation to put someone up should be like a half a minute long, right? Or a minute long. It's not like just pew pew with the med gun. You have to like be in cover, right? You have to have the patient secured, and then you kind of turn him over in a good position, and you start that, and you start that animation. I mean, you can interrupt it if you're getting attacked, but it has to be a very long animation that goes on that makes you revive. You have to be in complete security to be able to do it. All the medcan should be able to do is maybe stabilize the timer, right? I think that's about it. Drug, like different drug insertions on the medgun, I never thought about it. Is it like good or not? Apparently there has to be some kind of a difference between like the multi-tool medgun, right, and the specialized medgun. So maybe like drug insertions is not a bad idea. I still don't like, you can just put all the sliders, you know, to the right and just give yourself all the drugs. I think it has to be a much more conscious gameplay wise, like choice decisions, how you do it, without just like simply pulling the sliders and magically all the drugs are going through that one green vial. That is wrong. And going back to the backpack, if you don't have it, but you are in a team, I think that where Pisces and like Cuddy Red would become much more useful, right? If you just stabilize the person and then you bring them back to the ship and put them in the bed, and then the bed can revive them instead of the backpack, right? So it can revive, it just cannot respawn. And you cannot revive with the med gun, because right now, even if you can revive in the bed, no one would use it because you can just do it with a magical Harry Potter med gun, you know? So you just stabilize the person and drag them back, like evacuate them at least back to the medical ship, and you can revive them. And then based on the level of the bed, it's like what injuries like you kind of can treat, right? I think that would be a much better move. It would be much more responsible gameplay, much reckless gameplay, much more tactical gameplay. You don't really want to die in a bunker, because the moment you die, like one of your guys, if you have a big team, have to drag you out back and kind of like put you in the bed. If you're two, like you basically stop the mission and start doing that. That would be much more responsible and interesting gameplay. But for all of that to be a thing, what CAG has to do is implement a fireman carry, because dragging people the way you can with a drag system is bad, ugly, not working, annoying. It's just wrong, right? It's just wrong. There might be scenarios where you need the drag, so it should stay, right? Especially if you want to get crouched behind the cover, so you need to drag a person. But fireman carry should be a thing, 100%. It should be more useful and all that. Like you cannot use guns, nothing. Like with a drag, you can crouch behind the cover, drag the person and still use a pistol. With the fireman carry, you just take the person and you're all up on your feet. You're super exposed, but it's faster and more. Efficient, right? And then you drop them on the bed. I think that would, all of these changes would increase the medical gameplay immensely, and add even these like simple changes. It will add depth without adding like a lot of new gameplay mechanics. The way it is right now, it's just bad. Yeah, drag to cover, carry out of AO. Drag to cover basically with a drag if the person is in imminent danger, and then fireman carry the way out. And there is another thing. I think using the gravity tool, tractor beam tool, on people should be penalized. It looks bad. It looks immersion breaking. It looks cartoonish and weird. The lore team, speaking of lore team, should come up with excuse that living tissue, right? Living tissue, for whatever reason, cannot be dragged by a multi-tool tractor beam. Like the way that beam affects the body, the living tissue, not like just like solid materials, it destroys the tissue. Like you cannot be like departicularizing the thing with, you know, like it makes your particle moves, whatever, like to connect, to move it, and you're gonna die if you do that. Like if you do that, it should inflict like heavy damage on a very small period of time. Like 5 seconds of dragging or like 10 seconds of dragging would make you from incapacitated to dead. To completely dead. Like your body just cannot take it. You can drag like the dead bodies, for example, because they don't care anymore. They're dead. But you cannot like just throw around like incapacitated players left and right, you know? You cannot sit in cover and then use the tractor beam to drag your incapacitated body to cover, because that's like also like it's a kind of cheesy way, right? Yeah, like broken limbs, collapsed lung, whatever it does, that should like do all those injuries. So there has to be a lore explanation why you cannot kill with it if it does that thing to a body. Right? Why can't you just target on a person and just kill them in 5 seconds with that beam? Like maybe there is like something inside of a tool itself. No one can override like a protection mechanism that will not kind of allow the beam to attach to a living matter, to like a biological organism or something. It will just deny it. So you cannot even damage someone when he is incapacitated. You just cannot. Like the beam just doesn't attach to biological forms, right? It only like can move like solid, solid whatever objects. That would be a good explanation, and just come up why, like whatever. Then the problem is then you cannot like drag bodies, even dead bodies, right? Is it good or bad? I don't think it's bad. All of this like body throwing, dead body NPC throwing to loot them, you know, and like stacking up elevators, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It makes the game look silly and childish. It's like Gary mode thing, right? It's just bad. It's enough that we can throw like big objects already left and right. It also looks a bit silly, but it is what it is. like when the bodies start flying like that, it's just bad. I think all of that should go away. And then everything will start like making sense, right? You cannot drag bodies, right? You cannot revive with med tool. You can only stabilize. You have to get your body out of danger, you know, like cover with fire, whatever, drag him out, fireman carry, get to the rescue ship, put in the bed, revive. That makes much more sense. The gameplay will become deeper. And it's without implementing any new code like crazy things, just the changes that already current system allow you to do, right? And I think on my TED talk on this topic, I've missed so much chat. Let me guys go through through what you said, your ideas, and all that. Just leave the respawn as is, but make the medgun lose the auto function. I don't get this. No, like 100k respawn on a ship and like 5k in the hospital. I mean, what if the person doesn't have money, right? The lore says the respawns are free because of the laws they did, UEE passed. So, I mean, it would be good if you have to pay for the respawn. I don't mind that. And just it's going to be the problem for the new players. Because when they don't have those 5k, they start with 20, they die 4 times, and then they cannot refuel, repair, nothing, right? And then it will put them into the credit of negative balance. You know? I don't know how that would work, though I would like it to be a thing. Just leave the respawn as is, but make the medgun lose the auto function. I mean, what that's gonna achieve, though? You can still respawn then with the med gun. Professions gear locked. Yep, I agree. Nanobots light armor equals pilots, medium armor specialists like medic, engineer, marines, heavy armor. I mean, marines can run in whatever they want, but yeah, it's like a general rule. Yeah, like I don't even know that like pilots have to be like in light armor. They have to have specialized pilot undersuits, I think. That would fight like G-forces better than anything else, and you cannot put any armor on top of those, for example, undersuits, right? Or there should be a special like pilot armor that can be fitted on top of the pilot undersuits, which grants you very limited protection and whatsoever. But yeah, overall it can be like like light armor for pilots. Though I think there should be like other light armors that are specialized for like any cover tops operation, like stealth, like your signature dampening and all that stuff. I definitely agree, medium armor for specialists. That is kind of, I agree, like medics, engineers, whatever, like explosive guys, you know, all kind of stuff. And like, yeah, marines, heavy armor. Yeah. Okay, Zarek says takes 20 seconds to perform. Probably he's talking about the revival animation. Yeah, something like that. Pilot G suits, no armor, no backpack, limited EVA O2. Kind of, yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like the pilot has to have a special G suit. If it like, it's questionable if you should be able to put a light armor on top of it or not, but definitely no backpack. CAG mentioned that multiple times, that in future you shouldn't be able to like sit it with a backpack and a pilot seat, right? Unless that's a whatever specific like drop seat, right? For like troops. So yeah, even no weapons, only like a pistol or something. If you have a bigger weapon, like in a light fighter, that bigger weapon will go like in Gladius in that kind of shelf, right, in the rack outside of the ship. The most thing you could carry with you is like a pistol, in case you kind of eject. You gotta have something with you, right? And that's about it. It's not that light is that protective. I mean, it's protective to an degree. Like, for example, I run on light armor. It's faster. Game mechanics doesn't work in the game, so please keep it simple. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm keeping it simple. Everything I usually say, it already relies on something we have. It's just like, you know, tweaking values. They need a better tiers of damage and trauma. There is no distinction between a twisted ankle and a 50 cal exit bond. They have like this 3 tiers of damage, which kinda affects your character. Again, the problem is the med gun. You just, whatever's going on with you, you just like go in advanced mode, pop up all the sliders to the right, like into your hand, right? And you're done. You almost don't feel the effects of those traumas. Yep. We need a way for people to say he's not going to make it. We need to go and not, he's down, I'll get it. Yes, exactly. I think that's one of the biggest reasons I'm so like unsatisfied with the current like injury and medical gameplay. There is like I was playing SCUM like a few days ago with Jace, and I got killed. So I had to run to him from a new location, and on my way I was like damaged by zombies, and I had to fight it off with my bare fists because I didn't like I didn't bother to like make myself a bow or something, and I couldn't like really make it. So Jace had to like run towards me, like, and we basically saved my character limping around and bleeding out in the last like seconds, you know. And he had to like cover me, all that shit, and like in the last seconds, like I got saved. So I miss like this kind of gameplay. This med gun with, oh shit, I will just pump everything and keep running is just it's bad. It's bad. Yes, fireman carry, drag to cover. Pisces will blow up if you place a player in a med bed. Oh no. I said it like in 3:15 to siege. Yeah, I mean, dude, like the request landing button. It was funny when they finally did it, and Waka linked me my thread from 3 years from the moment the hotkey was implemented, and it said we had that in Jira. So yeah, it takes time. Imagine your whole body being lifted by 1 inch square spot. Yeah, that's like one of the things. It should like tear your like freaking body apart, right? That's why it shouldn't be possible. It should not work on biological organisms, the multi-tool tractor beam. Okay. Cuddle the solution is on the way. Remember the hovering device to transport corpses and bounties? Yeah, but it's like with trolleys, Newt. Will someone ever use them if you can just use the med gun, you know? Them showing the device in a video doesn't mean anyone will use anything if you can just use the med gun, you know what I mean? Okay. Give me a second. I'm going through chat, trying to go through the memes and get to actual like suggestions. SCUM is good as technical, true. Why I found you, man? Go in a bath like you did last time, Jag. Just go in a bath and just sit there for a few hours. Yo, Jag, yeah, have a good one, dude. Let's move on with the video.
Future, by the way, just a spoiler alert, but we have
What?
cracked mustard.
Stuff like that.
We have finally cracked mustard 900 years in the future, by the way. Just a spoiler alert, but we have.
Oh, the mustard joke? Okay.
If I just sit here quietly, Mike's going to follow up on the mustard. And that's exactly what happened.
Jared, you know me too well.
I miss you, man.
Likewise, man.
So, again, before we lose my... so there's the stuff in game. We've done a lot of focus about the stuff in the game. We touched a little bit on the trailers and stuff, mostly how they affect the game. But you also do a lot of stuff outside of the game. And we're gonna curve back around into Stanton and Pyro here in a bit, but before we do
a personal poetry project.
Yes, I want to know about. This is your chance to plug your personal poetry projects. Mike, I know you've got a band. No, but
that's my personal poetry project. Yeah.
Talk to me about the stuff that the narrative team does that surrounds.
When Dojimon came back, we're still watching this. Yeah, dude, we've been discussing so many topics right now. Everything besides the video. Video is just the background, so, you know, you guys get bored, you ask a random shit in chat, and I'll go, like, on it for, like, half an hour. It's been 2 hours, I think, since we started watching this, and we went through 30 minutes of the video only.
Star Citizen, the lore posts, the Galactopedia, the star maps. Let's start with the lore post. The lore posts are probably the oldest continuous content delivery that the project has. It's the only thing that predates the stuff I do. You know, I go around bragging like I've been doing this forever, and you guys are the only ones that are like, you know, been doing it even longer. So let's start with that. Talk to me about the something every Tuesday, the lore posts. Not those ones specifically, but the lore posts.
Yeah, that was an initiative that Dave started with basically the time capsule series and the run up to the initial kind of like crowdfunding campaign, just as a way to bring people into the world, to show them the type of world we were thinking of building and kind of highlight some elements of it. And it just kept going for years and years and years as the game was being built, because we found sometimes, you know, if there were certain aspects of the game that weren't ready to be experienced, by being able to kind of like tell stories or kind of like, you know, show these different shows and these different viewpoints of the verse, it would help kind of fill out the world for the players, but also, as we discussed earlier, for designers, for artists, that were also working on the game. Because to circle back around to your earlier question, you know, there's sometimes when, you know, a designer or a character artist would come to us and say like, hey, I'm about to work on this. What have you established? What can I read? And then we'd have all this kind of like backlog of material you'd be able to feed them, which would then kind of help them do their job, or at least kind of like put them in a certain direction. So we just found it was a really fun way to kind of get people into the world, to kind of introduce them for them, and this you know, extended into Jump Point, into the lore pieces that we have there, the different adverts for some of the subscriber items or stuff that were always in Jump Point. Is like, whenever we had a chance to just make the world seem alive from different from angles, we decided to do it that way. So yeah, whether it's an SET, which is a fake, you know, kind of like TV talk show that or a TV talk show, and you know, in that current age, or whether it's Parker Terrell and the Plain Truth, you know, spitting conspiracy theories about the future, or news post, it was always a really fun and interesting way to kind of like dip into the world and to show people kind of like our intention for it. So yeah, while it's while it's not kind of tactile in game, it is something we, will hopefully bring some of those posts into the game. It's a lot of work to be able to port all that stuff over and have it all around, but it still exists in the framework of the wider Star Citizen universe. So it's just a part of our job to help fill it in and add that color where we can.
And like you said, it fleshes the universe out not just for the players, but for the employees. Like it's one of those things that is common with ISC and stuff like this. It's very easy to think that those things are created just for the community, but they're actually really good resources for people internally to learn about what's there in the verse, learn about what's going on in other aspects of game development and stuff like that. So the last question before we move on, you ever gonna bring Kid Crimson back? We're gonna do more Kid Crimson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's Kid Crimson?
Okay.
I think the answer to that is he never left, Jared.
I mean,
That is true.
he is now Teen Crimson.
Like Teen Knight Rider?
Awkward preteen Crimson.
Oh, Teen Crimson. Okay. Oh, Kid Crimson. I gotcha.
Didn't like the decision of CG on Mongrel Squad pirating though. Whoa, what do you mean? Is there another drama? What's going on? Let's stop this video for a second. Oh, you're back to the Carrack Karen? Nah, first of all, it wasn't Mongrel Squad. It was Chaos Squad. That's what I got surprised. It's just that the Letty created a thread. Right? It's not Mongrel Squad. Letty from Mongrel Squad, though, put it up to public. And then the thread was deleted. And then there is a whole drama about it. Yeah. It's they use the official excuse of putting up like the email to delete the thread. Yeah, that shouldn't be like kind of they should be more careful creating the thread, giving less opportunities for CG to nuke the thread. I don't want to go into that. I don't want to go into that. Yeah, they will keep deleting it because here's what I think. Here is what I think. I think CG had to be more open about it instead of trying to shut us up. And just pretend, because they understand they did a mistake, right? They understand they did a mistake. They understand it was a mistake of a single employee that was not competent enough to understand the issue and come up with a good conclusion. The problem with CAG is they're really hard to like admit their mistakes. Well, I'm pretty sure because like what a CAG employee did was completely outside of what has to be done. I'm pretty sure they understand it's the mistake. It's just a guess, but like knowing CG from different perspectives and differing attitudes, if that would be a global CG decision, not a single person decision, they would do nothing. That person in the Carrack owner asked for it, and if there is a griefer in that scenario, that's that person who abused the poor mechanics to annoy people, and on top of that, used that to create like false evidence to get someone else in trouble, right? So if there is a griefer in that scenario, that's the owner of the Carrack, okay? That's about it. Yeah. So I think CAG understands this. It's just this habit of CAG trying to bury down this, deleting the threads instead of just openly coming up and saying, okay, that was a mistake. That's it. Let's forget it. It was a mistake. It's fine. That would like kind of is always weird, right?
Sorry. Took me a while to get there.
I'm sorry they can't all be mustard jokes.
And then I know Sherry's not here, but let's touch on this a little bit so she gets her laurels there.
I don't really think of the Galactopedia as an out-of-game project. It's the first place it's showing up, but that was 100% written because we want the Galactopedia as an in-game asset. So that is still being actively pursued. So that is our goal.
But what is it?
But in the
for people
meanwhile,
that have
while
never
we're
heard of
working
it?
on that. So the Galactopedia is our in-lore encyclopedia, and it's a collection of articles about a lot of different topics that you can imagine in the universe, from important people to companies to locations. So it's all kind of in there, housed in lore at the ARC, which is a large repository of knowledge created with the goal of kind of collecting not only humanity's knowledge, but also the Banner Xi'an and Tabar knowledge from across the universe.
The Banner section is pretty small.
All right. Coffee Gaming in the chat is like has a suggestion for you. What about Kid Mustard? Consider Kid Mustard.
Good,
Kid
like
mustard's not bad. That goes with then you could have a hot dog with crimson and mustard. You know, ketchup and mustard.
Other things the narrative team.
Hot dog squad. Hey, on that, I'm gonna leave.
I was gonna say, is it time for you to go, Mike?
Thank goodness.
Is it time to take off?
Hot dog squad. The crickets in the room tell me that I should probably ungracefully exit.
I'm done missing you.
Jared, thanks for having me. Glad to be here with the rest of the team. I got to go make sure that spaceships sound cool in a commercial.
Yeah.
So
I'll see you when I'm there. I'll see you when I'm there in October.
Hell yeah, Jared.
All right.
I miss you, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.
I think they just removed the snare from the Antares. We went through it already. Yeah, the newer description in Star Citizen Leaks pipeline Discord show that the data mined files now have a different description, and it says dampener. Sorry, yeah.
What were we talking about? Alien languages. So that's another big one. Not every game has fully developed and fleshed out, or maybe not fully, but incredibly fleshed out and developed alien languages, and we're working on several. Talk to me about that initiative. Making alien languages? What? Somebody?
Sorry? Sorry, I just signed up my flight been scanned. Sorry, got distracted. Alien languages, yeah, what about them? They're fun.
Why?
They're complicated.
Oh my god.
Why?
They're fun.
Just because they're fun?
I think it was just that thing of like, again, you know, with a lot of this, the initiatives that we try to do, like it wasn't just, it didn't feel right to just have them be doing, you know, have aliens and they're just doing weird garble nonsense. Like we wanted that level of immersiveness of, you know, this is a civilization, and you know, one that, you know, players are going to have interactions with and stuff like that, and wanting to again make it feel like it's real and believable and stuff like that. And it you know, again, like as we started working with Britton, our xenolinguist, to kind of develop it, like it, you know, it opens up a lot of really interesting possibilities, from environmental storytelling to interactions, and as you know, ultimately our environments of being able to have, you know, looking for opportunities where a player's understanding of a language, you know, might give them an edge. Like it won't, you know, again, we're still trying to figure this stuff out. So it's not necessarily like, oh, you know, you have to learn a new language in order to, you know, benefit, because I barely struggle with English, but like, you know, opportunities where like it gives you just a little bit of insight or a little bit of more character or backstory or something like that, because I can understand Xi'an or read Xi'an, and that type, you know, it just makes it feel like it's a real living world if we actually like spent the time. And working with Britton has been amazing, because you know, he's so incredibly talented when it comes to constructing these things, that and in really like insanely detailed ways of making them feel like, from a linguist perspective, not human, which I think is, I don't know, for me was one of the things that one of the details that was really, really exciting about it was the fact it's like, if someone understands language and how language is constructed, you know, he was trying to build these in a way where they would look at it and they would be able to see fragments of human languages built into it, but it didn't feel like a human language, which I thought was a really cool, cool approach.
And for folks who are just discovering this now, like you've joined the project in the last couple of years, and you're like, what? You made alien languages? You can check out the YouTube channel. There's a playlist of our Xi'an alien languages primers. And then there's a section on the robertspaceinstitute.com website with a bunch of links about it. And then there's a number of citizen resources, folks out there who have really taken it upon themselves to even push it further and to learn it and teach it. Even so, if you're curious and you're interested in learning Xi'an, there are many resources to get you started.
I think I should just not learn German. I wonder if German authorities will actually accept me if I say, guys, you know what? I know Xi'an language and Banu. Do I really need to learn German now? Like, we have a very big Star Citizen community in Germany. Isn't it enough to communicate them with, like, Banu and Xi'an languages? Like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Like, you're sitting and you're working at somewhere at, like, IKEA or Reva, like, supermarket, and you sit on as a cashier, and you just, a guy would come in and you just start speaking, like, Xi'an language to them. Imagine. Holy moly.
In addition to the Xi'an, we've also explored what other languages have we begun to flesh out?
Xi'an and Banu have been.
It looks like we have a nowhere in chat, right, Zarek?
To the community, in the form of the Rust Society Guide to Banu, which is a really wonderful document for diving into the culture and touching on what Dave said. Like, developing these languages have really allowed us to think about these species in ways that we wouldn't have, just coming at it from our more gameplay mindset, or even like creating a full verse and talking about politics and stuff. Like, Britt, a lot of times for his language development, needs to know details that we wouldn't really dedicate time on, of like, you know, can Banu choke on something? like that was a question, because he was going down like this word development and was wondering, would he borrow humans' word for choking, or would they have their own word because they can choke on stuff all the time? And like okay, sure, like let's have a fun 15-minute conversation about this. So that's been great. And then
it's kind of weird though. I'm listening to all of this, so I don't want to sound mean, but having such a lore team behind a game, and I don't know, I feel SC's lore overall, the structure of UEE, like a government and authority, all of that makes so very little sense in regard of, like, you know, being realistic. It's so generic. It makes me a bit sad, but again, I'm not a big like Kowalski would probably be able to talk on this for hours, how most of the things makes zero sense in terms of lore in Star Citizen, and I'm more talking about not the like some specific things like respawning or something, but more of a like a general universe and political structure. Yeah. Here goes Kowalski. I don't want to start it because like it will be hard to me to put up the words, but I understand the idea. It's a bit sad, but again, I'm not too much into that stuff. I don't get tilted by it, so I kind of ignore it. Yeah, it's a bit of a Roman inspired. Kowalski can probably go on for hours about it, right? But I'm not him. My arguments will be very poor. I feel it inside, but verbalizing it will be a problem for me. And one of it is this Roman inspiration, yeah, because it cannot live that long in that social like structure. All of that is a bit of a mess.
You know, kind of all not as public so far. We are developing additional languages for, you know, ancient Tavaran, which, you know, in the lore was used pre first two Tavaran wars and kind of fell out of favor, and has recently been having a bit of a cultural resurgence, as well as the Tavaran there's been a growing movement to reconnect with their cultural past. And then also, of course, the Vandal is being worked on. So
I'm remembering Young Disco and his little Klingon dictionary by Mark Okrand way back when. I'm not asking to commit to anything now, but I mean, it would be interesting to explore the idea of eventually like publishing a Xi'an dictionary or something to go along with it. Something you can take with you on vacation and just go through, with all the spare time we have.
That Rust Society guide has a pretty extensive Banu language dictionary in there already. It's not completely filled out, but when it comes down, it's become a great resource for us, because as we develop and release more Banu items like knives or weapons or ships, we'll often refer to that dictionary as a source of inspiration for what a name might be, or things like that. So it's yeah, and that document is extremely long, and a lot of it is cultural, just to kind of give you an idea of who the species is, like Will was saying. And then there are just pages and pages of these are the literal translations, and sometimes going through and just seeing, and this is what the Brits' brilliance is, like a word or what it's related to or how it ties into this or that, I think gives an insight to the species and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very informative and very interesting.
So let's move into the PU now in this current state. So if somebody joins the project now or recently, i.e. Fleet Week, whatever, the 318 coming out, and they're coming to the Stanton system for the very first time. Obviously, we can't go through everything, but give us a primer. What is the Stanton system? What's going on? What's life like? Who's in charge? Brain dump us here. Give us a primer for an introduction to the Stanton system here.
Actually, it's going to be nice to listen.
From a story perspective.
I wonder if something new comes up.
Jeremy, you just dived into all this. Jeremy, start us off.
What?
Sure, yeah. So the Stanton system is kind of like a divided corporatocracy, where all the major planets are owned by mega corporations after having purchased the rights to these planets and kicked out some illegal settlers and all that. They've taken these planets and turned them into
Yeah. Getting back to the discussion of empire and corporocracy, you can see from this how Ninetales aren't that bad, and why we all hate UEE, right? Illegal settlers. They bought the rights and then kicked out quote-unquote illegal settlers that were there just trying to make their living. Yeah, a lot of them became Ninetales. So we don't know who's good here, right? And why all of that UEE SCUM is even colored blue in my HUD when I fly, right? Fly around the space.
HQs for their companies that also work as, full cities with governments. And as you might expect, a lot of these companies aren't great at being governments. They're not necessarily doing the best job. And so within that, you have a lot of discontent brewing amongst different parts of the populace for various reasons, as well as a lot of criminals encroaching, whether from nearby unlawful systems or just within Stanton itself, where there's not yet a massive lawful presence as the companies are figuring all this out, trying to take it.
Oh yeah. That's to the argument that pops up on Spectrum and in game chat about, oh, this is a completely secure system, you griefers.
Advantage of the opportunities and the commerce that's available to be pirated, stolen, etc. That's all transiting through that system.
And Jeremy, since you're new here, I'm going to try something. Nobody else help him out. What happened to Tessa Bannister? Where's Tessa Bannister?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Oh shit, that's a bad answer.
Trick them into revealing something. Anybody else want to help? You know, every time you're on the show, it's already happened a number of times in the chat. See, the chat's like, Jared! Like, come on. Who is Tessa Bannister? Who is Tessa Bannister? And will she ever come back? I have to ask.
She's still there. I talk to her all the time. Did you all just upset her in some ways? She doesn't want to talk to you?
Wait, is she not working? Was there an issue council report about this? She's supposed to have been there this whole time. What do you mean she's not there?
She is still very much on our minds. I know, Matt, you have some feelings.
There have been conversations about Tessa. You know, someone who played the game back in the 2X days. I think it goes without saying, I'm excited to see her back. We're talking with the other teams about what would be the best way to do that. So, I mean, we don't have anything like concrete to tell you yet. But I think you know, we all know we want her back. We know you guys want her back.
Hashtag bring Tessa
I know
back.
it's not the answer everyone wants to hear, but there is a plan.
I say at this point she's going to have to be revealed to be the brainchild behind Xenothreat or something. You know, just this, you know, the massive end boss at the end of everything. Like, that's where I disagree to.
I mean, there were some technical things involved with the decision to remove her from the first place. And then it's always about that. We have the same bucket of people working on a bunch of stuff. Then where does Tessa fall into their schedules? Because, you know, missions have come a long way since she was introduced, and having to refactor or kind of set and adding new stuff and really making her the character we want her to be in the game, it takes a little bit of elbow grease. So it's not as simple as flipping a switch back on in order to get in the game again. So it's taking us some time. We have it in the backlog, and hopefully we'll be slowly moving it to the pipe till we get to her. So
Chad is asking what Tessa's favorite mustard is.
Oh my god, this mustard jokes. Come on.
Say that. You're not going to tell people. You're not going to show people in the game. Don't do that. Besides the 4 big corporate giants who own the 4 mega planets, there are also other organizations floating around. There's GrimHEX and and as a location, and then there's Ninetales and Xenothreat roaming around. Give us, tell us, because we're bringing back Xenothreat and Ninetales, Lockdown, and stuff like this for folks again who are joining and whatnot. They don't know the history, or don't know who these people are. Somebody introduce us to Ninetales. Who are they? What do they do? What do they want?
What the Ninetales want is a bit unknown at this point. They
God damn it.
There's a portfolio written about them. Yeah,
they've been working towards that 10th tail. I think that's been.
But yeah, there's a portfolio on them where they started off as kind of like a for-hire kind of like gang that was out there pulling big jobs in other parts of the UEE, and for some reason decided to settle at GrimHEX station and take it over and take full command of it and focus all their efforts in and around the stamp system at this point. So that
sounds pretty weird. You know, like for some reason they were pulling out jobs for UE, and then they decided to settle in GrimHEX for some reason and become like super legal bad guys. That's what I'm talking about. Like, what?
Reason behind that decision, or what's kind of going on with that, is still up in the air, but they're causing a lot of headaches when it comes to the Stanton system in general, because GrimHEX is technically in the control of the Crusaders planet, and they don't necessarily have the best security protocols or desire to do it, but with it obviously being a quick QT to go to any other place in the system, it's easy for them to go hit another planet, hit their infrastructure, hit their shipping lanes, and then just duck back to GrimHEX, where Crusader doesn't seem to want to.
Yeah, and the entire security system of Stanton combined, no one knows where the GrimHEX is, right? with all their Idrises and UEE, and there is a station that floats on the orbit of Yella. Every single pilot has a marker for it, but hey, we don't know what those scum criminals are.
Do a full-on assault on their own, and the other corporate entities in the system don't seem to have the muster to want to get together to try to take on the program. And the UEE is
The
like, hey
mustard
man,
is the
we
problem.
sold you guys this system. It's your job to keep it clean. So the UEE doesn't want to get involved.
So the UE doesn't want to get involved, but when you get Crime Stat 5, there is an UE Idris on you, right? There is a major criminal organization having their major stronghold in the heart of the trading and industrialized planet, but hey, we don't want to touch them. But hey, this dude is flying in the middle of space with a crime stat 5. We're gonna spawn F8 lightnings. We're gonna warp in the Idris, multiple hammerheads, and few refuelers. Just if NPCs are getting tired and run out of fuel and chasing that dude, they can refuel. You know, we're gonna do all that for you. But no, we're not gonna touch GrimHEX. Yep. Total sense.
So they're sitting in this nice little like gray zone, just causing trouble for some reason.
And you know,
For some reason.
In recent times, the UE has been, you know, approving the CDF, the Civilian Defense Force, to deputize people to help out with the Ninetales. But that's always in kind of a reactionary measure of this is an immediate threat, so we need all these hands on deck to help deal with that security situation. Whereas like the idea of like, oh, why don't we scale a massive assault on a full station full of people and evict them is a different matter entirely. So it's kind of like, how do you deal?
It's a poor excuse for an evil empire of E that used to take everything by force, that used to sell the entire cell system to corporates, rendering early settlers illegal, basically making them go away and kill them. It's a poor excuse. They don't want to do a full-scale assault because there are some civilians inside of the station. Bullshit.
With this known encampment that's at the GrimHEX or Green Imperial Hex Station.
We've seen the Ninetales and Crusader, security, clash a bunch of times. What about the other corporations in Stanton? Do the Ninetales have a relationship or a standing with ArcCorp or Hurston or Microtech? They just stay out of their way?
A little bit. The Crusader is the main sphere of influence. There's other gangs that we're slowly hoping to introduce and see more of as we expand content. Like, we have the Dusters, who are a gang who specialize in kind of more of the high-end ore theft, like raiding other people's claims, doing legal processing, that kind of stuff. We just talked about the tar pits earlier. We have the Nova Riders. There's also in Hurston, we have the Hurston Workers United, who are trying to struggle for labor rights, but are deemed as outlaws because
there we go.
Hurston doesn't.
I'm gonna work for that.
Is, so.
Everything anti-Hurston is my jam.
So I think we're trying to get a variety, but Ninetales definitely have one of the larger influence across the system, even with their focus on Crusader.
And before we let you go, let's talk a bit about Pyro. Now, obviously, we're working towards Pyro. It's part of 4.0 and server meshing and all that stuff. So there will be undoubtedly more Pyro information coming as the year goes on. So we don't want to get too far into it. But as a general primer for Pyro, for people who, again, most of the show is for this week is for folks who are relatively new to the project, who have never seen you guys, heard you guys. Give me the nickel version. What is Pyro, and why does Pyro matter to the story, to the fiction of the universe?
Maybe we'll take a stab. Okay. So Pyro is going to be an interesting addition to the game in general. Basically, the idea is with it, at its core, Pyro is a lawless system, so it is technically unclaimed by the UEE, which is our.
Zarek, back in very old days, GrimHEX exact warp location was only unlocked when you had a crime stat at certain level, I think, or maybe crime stat 1. So it was a thing. It still doesn't justify everything we said above. Like, the system is known, that station is known, that was previously a civil mining station. It's not a secret where it is for authorities, you know what I mean? It doesn't justify it.
Our sort of reigning human government body, and it got its name from basically the idea that the star at the center of it is very unstable, and so it is a kind of unpleasant place to live. That's why the UEE basically kind of deemed it as, we don't really care about it, let people kind of mine it for a bit and exploit it, but with no intention of kind of settling the planet. So with that sort of vacuum of authority, it became a place for criminals, outlaws, people who were trying to live off the grid or away from the UEE and stuff, and it sort of became just sort of a lawless place. So, so yeah, the idea that it's introducing to the game, which is very exciting, and the source of a lot of meetings and conversations, is, this is a lawless place and Stanton is a lawful place. So how do we, it has massive gameplay implications, for a lot of things as far as infrastructure and, missions and who's there and what the reputations are and what carries over, what doesn't, stuff like that. So it's going to be a really, it's going to be an awesome place to kind of wander around. But yeah, that's a lot to process.
The only question to Pyro for me is, what kind of a risk reward they're gonna bring in there to industrial players? If, like, a lot of lore points that system was mined to shit. It was mined out dry. If that's the case, what kind of a profit industrial players can make in Pyro, if it's been mined dry, that is better than they can make in Stanton, right?
To do it. But yeah, the idea, the core of it is basically that because it's a lawless place too, that it's sort of in constant civil war among several of the reigning gangs in the system, and the idea being that, like, the hope, the ultimate dream of it was that there would be a point where we would have that, you would see that power struggle going on. So it wasn't a place with a, again, as compared to Stanton, this was a place that had a shifting power structure. So Xenothreat might be in charge 1 month or 6 months or 1 year, and then the headhunters might be in charge because they take control of it. And so you see that kind of power dynamic change and in the system, which, I don't know, for me has always been one of the most exciting aspects of it.
So being lawless and uncolonized and stuff, I get why the criminal element and stuff would want to go there and operate. Is it all just bad people in Pyro? Is there is there a reason a good person would go there to live?
Yeah, I mean, that's been one of the conversations, is what is the draw for the lawful characters that want to go there. I mean, one of the things we've been talking about, a new org that would be kind of trying to instill law in Pyro, but there's also the bigger one would be, a group that I sort of nicknamed the Survivors, which are sort of a neutral faction within it, that they're not outlaws or criminals. They're just trying to eke out a living and not bother anybody and whatever. And the idea.
So yeah, that's the kind of, what are they doing there? If it's a lawless place with on a mined dry system, what those dudes are even doing there? Why they're trying to make their living in Pyro if they're not criminals, then they can just go to whatever other system, like Stanton or whatsoever. Like, why there is an org that is trying to force a law there, how he just said, no one asked for that, you know? At least I think community that is interested in Pyro gameplay didn't ask for that, right? Because the last thing we want, the analog of security forces also flying there and charging you for, like, kills whatsoever. It's... Just talk to us about the benefits of operating in Pyro. CG, please. Talk to us about those benefits, how it can make it us rich.
Like if I'm going out there as a lawful player, this would be sort of the faction that I would probably align myself closest with. Like they're not trying to cause trouble, but they will have jobs for people to do and stuff like that. But the idea is they're sort of networked over a bunch of different worlds, so you can have a presence.
Yeah, because there are members of humanity who don't want to live under the UEE's rule, and there's still opportunities in.
Oh, so there are people who don't want to just live under the UEE rule, and now he said there are opportunities. Let's listen. Let me rewind it.
And there's still opportunities and money to be made in the Pyro system.
Like,
you know, we've kind of identified on the narrative side these kind of historical waves of interest in the Pyro system. Like, first discovery of the system and Pyrotechnic Amalgamated moving out there, trying to get as many resources. And then like, a big push when shield technology improved and all of a sudden it was safer to fly in Pyro closer to the flare store, and that brought in more people. And the discovery of new systems that connect to Pyro have brought with it a new wave of interest of like, you know, people looking to get the resources there, make profits in that system. And like
yeah, you can sell to Pyro probably at a good price because they have nothing there. But why are they there in the first place besides the criminals who are hiding from the UEE? Right? Why? What are people looking there for if everything has been mined out?
Stanton system really kicked off. All of a sudden there was another renewed interest because, you know, Stanton system's an economic powerhouse in the universe. And so how did that affect Pyro?
How does that affect Pyro besides criminals who going back and forth, like raid something in Stanton and go hide in Pyro? Like, you know, what is the other interest of those non-criminal populace that is in Pyro? How do they make money? What's their beef? You know, what's their problem? Please, CAG, like, let us know what will benefit a player in Pyro better than it can benefit in Stanton. That's my main question. Why a especially industrial player would risk it and go into Pyro? That's my biggest question. Is it only bring stuff from Stanton and sell it at a higher price and then go back empty? You know, what's the deal here? I still don't get it. All the words, no, like zero understanding.
And so I think there's all these individuals who end up in Pyro for various reasons who do just want a life, who want to be left alone, who want to try to, you know, make their way as best they can.
Left alone from what? From getting a job in a civilized like world? Like there has to be a reason. Like it's just not I want to be left alone and I go like in downshift somewhere in the mountains, you know? There has to be any sort of reason like how they make their living.
And so hopefully the players will be looking either to help them out or severely take advantage of them and make their lives a living hell. So we'll see what they want to do.
You know, that's a good point. I hadn't actually considered that you know there's intrinsic value in Pyro and not wanting to live under UEE and stuff like this, but there's also what Pyro helps you get to. You know, the other systems beyond the things that you get access to.
Oh, just the access? Pyro. It's like a transition hub. if it's just a transition hub, like a system you go through, for example, a shortcut to get the goods delivered, guys, we're gonna have no gameplay, because if there is two systems, Stanton and Pyro, and the next few systems that are connected to Pyro will be there out in like 3 more years, then until then, all of that makes no sense. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be a dead-end useless system with cool screenshots and PvE missions to one gang asking you to kill another gang, just like you go and kill in Stanton, just with a different background. Where's the gameplay moment, you know?
So I imagine there are lots of reasons for various organizations and folks to try to establish a safe foothold, or as safe a foothold as possible within Pyro, to facilitate other ventures and other connecting systems and stuff like that. So it'll make it very interesting, make a very interesting, fertile, ground for conflict and collision.
Yeah, but that's when all the systems are in. Where's the conflict now when it releases? Is it just going to be a screenshot simulator?
We touched on Xenothreat. Xenothreat keeps coming into Stanton and stirring up stuff. We ever going to get to return the favor, maybe? The good people of
That's the
Stanton?
hope. Yeah, I mean, they're a Pyro-based kind of political terrorist organization based out of Pyro. So, the idea is that hopefully that you'll be able to kind of hit them. They've been launching attacks in Stanton to kind of push their anti-corporate, anti-alien rhetoric, and hoping of sparking a revolution among the people against the UEE. But yeah, hopefully there'll be a point where we can, hit him at home.
Hardiest says, why is there fertile ground in a system with a massive...
Like, why would you portray them as like super bad guys? They just have different point of view. It's a question where they get so many Idrises. That's a huge question. It's like, well, is there a black market of military, top-notch military animal line like ships that they can come in with like 5 Idrises for the event? That's a whole different question. Like a Ninetales stealing 1 Idris is just the whole like quest chain, Arlington guys, and then the Xenothreat shows up with like a bunch of Idrises. It's kind of weird, not gonna lie. And then you want to hit them at home. Yeah, you will give the opportunity to hit them at home. Why don't you give us the opportunity to hit UEE at home? Why? And I'm not a big fan of UEE policies, I'm not gonna lie.
Solar storm. I was using a metaphor for the fertile ground, but it does also beg a good point that I wanted to hit before we got here. Lore and stuff, the stuff that you guys have developed for the star map, for the Galactopedia, for the the original what were the original the Galactic guides and stuff like this. They're very much like written concepts. It's a starting point. It's a kickoff. It's a thing designed to stir the imagination of the artists and the designers and everybody who have to come and work this stuff. But I think there's one of the things I want to touch on is that there isn't in game dev, there isn't this, you come up with a plan in year 0 or 1, and then you just stick to that plan wholeheartedly and without change, without evolution, without ever having a better idea as you continue to develop. New people come online, new people join the project, and with it they bring ideas, and they bring interest, and they bring their own agency and things they want to add. So that can lead to a lot of these lore posts or these histories that you've written over the years to change. And some would call that retcon, but I think more appropriately, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, it's more just the natural evolution of a universe of game development. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I barking up the wrong tree?
I mean, that is how it goes. I mean, we don't want to be a team who digs in our feet and be like, well, we wrote this paragraph 6 years ago, so it has to be this way. Like, especially because our goal, just like a lot of the other teams, is to have the most fun gameplay we can. So our narrative is always in service to making the game fun. And so, you know, with Pyro, we've talked about this a little bit, but it turns out that it's more fun for some of these worlds to be slightly less harsh than we had originally envisioned, for them being a little more forgiving environmentally, so that some of our other gameplay systems can exist there. So, you know, we're looking at adjusting those original write-ups, like a lot of the how harsh the system.
There's an asteroid cluster in the Pyro according to ArcStar map that says it's very dangerous, but there are some very precious minerals. So yeah, I've seen that. Isn't that had to be mined out dry? Right? Maybe no one mined it because it's dangerous. I don't know. Maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe that's kind of a belt will be the hotspot. But then again, if it's an asteroid cluster that will be spread across, if not like Aaron Halo belt, but close to that, how would a conflict be possible there between players unless we get long range probe scanning along with Pyro, right?
System had to do with our very original idea that landing zones were going to be fairly limited. And of course, over time, as the amazing planetary tech team has come in and created all these fun sandbox environments, we want to be able to take advantage of those. So we still want to have those harsh environments. We still want worlds like that you go there and you have about 10 minutes before your health systems are going to kick in and start killing you. But like, we also want to scale back the other side of it and have.
Wait, give me a second. What was that?
So we still want to have those harsh environments. We still want worlds like that you go there and you have about 10 minutes before your health systems are going to kick in and start killing you. But like, we also want to scale back the other side of it and have areas where players can do missions more on the surface than we originally thought. And we're also coming with in-between ways of how to have, like, are there ways for outposts to survive on these really harsh worlds, and talking about that with the design teams and expanding those systems. And on the subject of retcon, I guess, we always do try to avoid retconning when we can. Like, for the Regen Tech's a good example of where we introduced it as a change that was happening for the characters in the universe. But sometimes when it's like the temperature of the planet, we weigh it like, is this something that happened now? Is this a new development? Or is this something how it has always been and we need to do a retcon and have it be that the old facts never existed? So we try to avoid that when we can, but a lot of times it's unavoidable. And that's just the simplest solution to go forward.
Well, you know, that's why I'm prone to saying we call it game development, not game construction. It's there's this idea, a myth, that a plan is put in place before a game is started, and you just spend the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, in our case 10 years, whatnot, just executing that same exact plan that was laid out before. But proper development is about incorporating all of the ideas and the feedback and the lessons learned along the way, and that applies to summits as well, for folks who watched yesterday's ISC and came away thinking, oh, they're just starting on this. It's like, no, they've been on it for years. The summit is about taking the lessons that they learned through PDS and incorporating
it just sounded like that.
Adjusting the plan.
I think that was poor phrasing in the ISC
where it's like,
that made people think so.
It was, and continuing to go from there. It's, I think a lot of, I was looking at the comments, and I think a lot of people took the this is the first time they're meeting in person because we just came out of a pandemic, to mean that this is the first time they've ever talked about this stuff. And
no,
that
not
was
really.
That's on me. That's on me. We could have been a little bit better.
Yeah, I think Jared understand that was like a bit of a wrong phrasing, and the way they montaged it, they should have like did a better explanation on. We are now assembling a strike force, like on a final push to like nail down the feature, while we have all design work done over the years, and some coding done, we're just like now finally at the stage of like a final 1 year long, like whatever year long push to roll this system out, right? I think it was just a poor phrasing and poor like editing, which gave a lot of viewers the impression that they've just talked about it and only now they start working on it.
Put the edit on that. So I apologize.
And just to also say, we do really appreciate everyone reading this material and learning it and becoming invested in this write-up and how cool, and you know, that's what we were trying to do, was spark your imagination and make you excited about this stuff. So I know it can be difficult where you're learning and trying to get a sense of what Star Citizen is, and then we shift something and you have to relearn it. So we don't take these.
Zarek, jokes aside, I think Jared is at the position, like at his level of authority, to admit his own mistakes, at least openly.
Changes lightly, and we do appreciate your investment and passion for it, and always pointing out the inconsistencies that develop like, over time, and we try to address those where we can. Like, you know, we've talked about this before, but anytime we write anything, it takes like an hour of research and going through our history and consolidating all our facts, and like, you know, that's a big part of our team's job is trying to ensure consistent history to the project. And so we appreciate the community's help in being like, hey, this year doesn't make any sense. The system wouldn't have been discovered yet. And like, oh yeah, we totally missed that. Thank you. So
Matt, be real with me. You were a backer beforehand. You played the game. You came in. How long did you wait before you had to be like, okay, remember when you said this and you totally forgot that there was this? And so like, how long did you wait before you started bringing the fire?
Oh, that was like day one. I was in the job interview. I was like, oh yeah, by the way, did you know this? And I was like,
remember when you said you were going to do this? That's not what happened. Yeah. The only constant in game development is change. All right, guys, we're here at the end. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. Little known behind the scenes thing. We had another set of guests scheduled for this week, and they unfortunately had to reschedule for some personal stuff. I have had a long and storied thread in Teams called Jared's Channel of Bailing His Ass Out. And it's only got the members of the narrative team in it. So I always appreciate them when I throw the fail signal up, and they're like, it's Jared, he needs us, and they come and help save the day. So thank you so much, everybody. And Jeremy and Matt, it was very good to meet you for the first time today. So that's it. That's Star Citizen Live.
we have a special guest joining us for the last 30 seconds.
Especially what?
Sherry's here.
Oh, Sherry.
Sure, Papa.
Jeremy, you're muted if you want to unmute.
Hi. Wait a.
Hi.
All right, start over. Back to the beginning.
It reminded me.
What do you do?
Oh, I'm sure.
It reminded me of my daughter popping almost every day at the end of the stream.
I'm Sherry. I'm an associate writer / archivist here at Cloud Imperium Games. I thought this was now and not an hour ago. So I was like, oh, I totally made it in time. This is great.
Time zones.
Okay, so sorry about that. But yeah, I do the Galactopedia and help with alien languages and planets and stuff.
That's why it's the narrative team and not the schedule team.
Sorry.
But blame Blythe. She's not here. The producer's not here, so blame her.
Oh no. Okay, cool. I'll do that.
All right. Thanks so much for
Loading.
Yeah, it's the exposure stuff.
Sorry. Anyway, sorry.
Right.
Go ahead.
So thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Be sure you check out ISC next week. Big mining changes coming to Alpha 3.19. I haven't seen it on the road. Big mining
changes?
Changes coming to Alpha 3.19. I haven't seen it on the roadmap yet, but I flew to Frankfurt this week and caught up with Torsten, and there's some.
This entire video was worth for just hearing this.
Really exciting new mining stuff coming in 3.19, so check that out on ISC next week. And then, if you haven't already, check out the recent ISC about the Server Machine Summit. Like I said, we talked about it a little earlier. It's a new kind of a story.
Did they finally listen to me/us over the years? And are making finally a difference between mole and prospector? Is that what's going on, Zarek? Are they finally giving like mole more power to lasers? And more power to lasers, so one properly crewed mole is better than 4 people in prospectors. They will just like create a scale like bigger asteroids with much more stuff, and it will be more profitable per person to use a mole. Here is a new concept. I'm not so sure. Maybe it just takes 3 years from suggestion. I mean, it's not maybe. No, it is 100% true, because I have one example I already said about the lending request keybind, where they had my suggestion in Jira for 2 or 3 years before they implemented it. They might also sell a ship with that. I agree. They might also sell a ship with that, which would be a middle ground from mole, in between mole and Orion, right? It could possibly be a thing, but because the difference in size between those ships are insane. The difference is insane, sorry. So pushing us something in the middle is quite quite a thing that could happen. That was that ship concept they had a while back. No, I don't think it's going to be RSI. Maybe. I mean, they have the RSI ship already from the Orion, but we'll see. It doesn't really matter. RSI 1? Okay, yeah, maybe. Interesting. I think they will finally start scaling the asteroids and differentiate the power in the mining heads depending on the size, and tune the values. So if you like spend if you have like 4 people fully crewing the mole, it's gonna crack and do better than like 4 prospectors on the same rock, right? But then the mole cannot really be mining the smaller rocks good, because they probably like just cannot control the fluctuations that good. Yeah, so like basically 4 people in a mole would require, for example, something like 6 to 8 prospectors to achieve the same result. You know what I mean? And then the obviously the profit from such a rock should be increased to the point every single person in a mole should get more money for the multi-crew effort than a single prospector would get doing his solo job, right? That's like the basic logic of like effort versus reward, right? Okay. Saldimek was talking about how the reclaimer was multi-crew done, right? Yeah. Guess whose thread was there first in the Evocati to make the reclaimer exactly how they changed it? And guess who pointed out that we shouldn't do the same mistake we do with mining? back in Evo. So actually, when it went on PTU, it was already good. I know one guy. He usually wears nowadays a green cap, right? When he streams. I shouldn't say that. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. They can, if they want, they can ban me. If they ban me from Evo, they will get less suggestions then. Okay. Yeah, it always like, it was always weird for me that the mining was in this state for so many years while this logic was obvious. And I really knee down in front of CG employees who were not defensive and actually listened to that and like realized the logic they're trying to implement with Reclaimer being successful with other things will not come maybe in a year or two. So you shouldn't leave the Reclaimer owners outside of the loop just making screenshots on it. You should make it actually useful, at least for now. No matter how the game will be in the future, you have to make it work okay for now, right? And also that creates a progression. You can mine in a vulture and then you want to go and mine your way, salvage in a vulture, and you can go and progress your way up to Reclaimer, get your bodies up and going, you know? Yeah, it's good to hear. Is there anything that besides, is there anything besides the talk in the Salty Mike's chat that we can read up on that? Let me read through that again. Done right, and how mining needs to be redone to make it different from the prospector. And a dev in chat said, you like what we have planned. Nice. Now that I know. Okay, that's nice.
Attempting to tell a multi-part thing, where we don't tell the whole story in a single episode. It works for some, it doesn't work for some others. We experiment. I've been doing this for a long time, so we're going to try some stuff. If you didn't like it or whatever, you should absolutely blame me. The developers are doing wonderful work, and they've got some great updates coming. And we'll revisit the summit here in a couple weeks, and you'll see more of what their conclusions were and what they came to. But yeah, so
it feels like it's just value adjusting. It is, yes, in most cases.
Jeremy and Matt and Adam and Mike and Sherry. I'm Jared, and holy crap, I remembered everybody's name. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you, Jared. Oh my God, guys, listen, the video lasted for 1 hour and 6 minutes. I've been on stream for 3 hours, 24 minutes. Let's exclude 10-minute startup. It's a 3-hour long. That makes me I'm afraid right now. I spoke for 2 hours in a video for 1 hour. Do you understand how bad it is? I spoke twice more than they did. All of them combined. Whoa. Alrighty. I don't even know how to put it on YouTube. If I would be to put this on YouTube, we discussed everything but the lore, right? Everything but the lore. It's imagine a 3-long-hour video from me on YouTube. How would I even do it? I don't know. How would I even do it? Like, how should I call this video? We discussed like medical, we discussed like everything, mining, and whatever, probably another like 4 other topics. YouTube longs. Oh God. React title, but I'm not reacting on the video. You know what's the worst part? I'm not even reacting. We are reacting on everything but the video. YouTube schlongs. episode each one on a topic, like cut them in multiple videos, I don't know. That is gonna be weird. Because like, usually I would be talking on a stop frame of someone mid-speech and like, yeah, it's probably reacting. Yeah, it is a react content, but not on a subject. I just need to come up with a title, okay? Woof. I'm almost out of time. It's almost 9. I don't think even I want to play the game.